Welcome back, everybody, to Scaled Success Reptile Podcast. Thank you for joining us in. I see that we already have some people in the comments. Much appreciated. This is going to be a really good one because Eslin is my good friend, and I know he's going to hate me saying this, but he's definitely been a mentor to me within the last year. We've built a friendship. Our families have hung out, and I've learned so much about Western Hognose from and other species. So thank you guys for tuning in onto this one. I want to shout out a couple people in here. We got Eric's Morphery. Once we bring on Eslin, we'll talk a couple more people. Bosa, what's going on? Blue Tongue Republic, always a good supporter. Sharian, thank you for stopping by. I know there's a couple people, definitely going to be a good amount of people in here for Eslin. He's a great person, so people support him. And then Bosa Ball always dropping the links, USARK Florida. So since we're talking about USARK Florida, I want to bring up a small victory, I say, because it's a battle victory instead of winning the whole war, because we have other things coming up. But 2 weeks ago here in Miami, FWC had their commission meeting about and then the biggest topic was going to be the whitelist. One of those topics, and the commissioners said that they didn't have enough resources, information to make a decision that day, or to actually provide a exact wording for the whitelist to come up onto a vote. So they said that they're going to set it aside, and they're going to really evaluate it and see how they can come up with a better solution and actually a list of animals that are currently in trade. And there was a couple of ideas out there that were thrown out already. So, we have a small victory there. Really happy because it would have really affected the reptile community and industry here in Florida if there was a whitelist to come out. But then I think a week after or something like that, now there's a national whitelist being brought up by a Florida politician. So I know you can go on USARK National's website and you can bring it up and it'll show you up. Bosa, Bosa might be able to bring it up and hit the link so people can copy it and go read that. So we also need to be aware of that's going on and be able to fight it and make sure that we are aware and make other people aware. Not just the reptile community, but our friends, our family. Talk to them about it and tell them why. Not just tell them what's going on, but tell them why it's is important for them to know, and it's good for them to support our community. There's many people that own reptiles, and it's not just reptiles; it's exotic animals. Because it's going to be an endangered species list. So it covers all type of animals that will be listed under there. Yeah, Blue Tongue Republic made it. Is Rubio that brought it up. Here it is, the Lacey Act facts. So it has the FAQ on the national, USARK National. So make sure we, go there, take a moment and read it after the show when you guys got time, and then reach out to your local politicians, your legislators, your senators, your governors, to make sure that, because this is going to go up the chain. So it's not just going to be locally to Florida, it's nationally that they're going to be able to try to push this. All right. So we're going to bring on Eslin now. It's like I said, it's going to be a good one. We might go, 2 hours plus because we always have good conversation with Eslin. If there's let's see where we're gonna go. So we're gonna bring him on now. All right, welcome back, Eslin. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? How's it going? Good to be on the podcast, man. Finally.
Hey, man. I wanted to wait to have you on because I wanted to get certain kinks out of the way and stuff like that because I know we know each other very well after it's only been about a year and some change that we've known each other.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've grown so close and got to know each other so well, and our families and all that stuff. So
like-minded people.
For sure, 100%.
That's what this hobby was about in the very beginning, and then slowly it started to become more of an egotistical form of platform rather than how we used to be before.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Yeah, and I think that's a big important part you brought up on my like-minded people, trying to find that people that are similar to you and gonna make the hobby and the community a lot better.
Yeah, that's how it is. It's easier to build people around you than to just build yourself. And there's power in numbers. And there's no reason for us to keep secrets or anything like that if it's gonna help somebody else. Like you and I have a lot in common when it comes to our business. It's a family-run business, and if I have something that I know is gonna help you prosper and help your family, level up or become more passionate and feed that passion, and there's no reason for me to keep it back. It's not a race. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. We're in it to feed our families and to give them more a different perspective, give them a better better shot at things, because I've learned a lot from animals, not only from people but from animals. They've taught me a lot of patience. They've taught me a lot of dedication, and that's one of the things that I'm very fortunate. It's helped me out. It's helped me out through life, making decisions and doing things that I probably wouldn't have the same outlook and the same results on life if I didn't have animals in it. I probably wouldn't be right now. I probably would be somewhere else, in a very dark place, because that's how I got started with reptiles. That's how I got started.
And I think that story, or that little bit about you connects to a lot of people within the community. I'm not gonna say within the community, within the world right now, because a lot of people are, I say, lost in what they want to do in life, and haven't found their passion. So it's very interesting that it's good that you found your passion many years ago, because I already know you've been in this for a very long time, and you've worked up to where you're at now, and we're gonna get into that on how long you've been in it, and what is the hardest parts and stuff like that. We're gonna say hi to a couple people that are here, shouting you out.
Yeah.
So we got Eric's Morphery, Factory.
What's up, everybody? I can't comment on here, so I don't have the comment bar. So every time you guys comment, I could see it, I can mention it, but I really can't comment. So I appreciate all the love and support, man. Every time that you guys shout me out and give me the what's up or give me the fingers and everything, bro. I'm happy. I'm passionate. I appreciate it.
We have Blue Tongue Republic.
Yeah. Blue Tongue Republic. That's another one. That's another up and comer.
Yeah, man. And he's a big supporter too.
Got a lot of passion behind it.
Yeah.
Sherry Ann, that's my sister-in-law.
There we go.
You know what's funny? She had never been to a reptile expo in her life. Never, ever. She went to the West Palm because she lives in West Palm. She went to the West Palm for the first time. It was Reptile Nation, which is actually a pretty good venue. Yeah. She didn't know how passionate, she didn't know how intricate and how detailed people really get when it comes to animals. She comes from a corporate world. She comes from, fundraising and all that. And to see that a lot of the logic and a lot of the passion that she feels and that she, puts into her stuff, she was amazed by how many passionate people there were in one room, like her venues and like her situations. And it was just, it was mind-boggling to her to see so many people passionate about animals and reptiles that she had never thought it was possible. She never thought, even though my wife Nikki, her sister, is passionate about animals, but she had never thought, it never dawned on her. She never thought that there would be that many people that would be so passionate about reptiles in general in one place, and so open to ideas and everything. It was a good experience for her, and I think that's one of the things that this hobby is missing too. We'll get into that later, man. The transformation that I've seen through the years, it's crazy.
You know what? And that's like a thing, man. Like I would say, I I think the community and the hobby is misunderstood because not enough people have the information of how passionate people are, the reality of how these animals are kept as pets and they're not all dangerous, and everything else, the stigmas that come with within our come from our hobby, or I mean, come from the public about our hobby, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah. Well,
Um,
you know what we do when we go to shows. You've seen it before. You've been
mhm,
there helping us. You've been there behind the table. How many times do
mhm.
you see, men and women in their 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, sometimes even in their 50s come to accompany their daughter or their son, and they see a snake and they're like, getting the heebie jeebies because they think that it's it's a what the way they say it. Oh my god, it's slimy and cold, and they get all crazy. Like,
Yeah,
listen,
yeah,
I'll let you hold the snake as long as you trust me and you believe that nothing's gonna happen. I'll let you hold the snake, and it's changed people's opinion and concept of a snake is with a simple conversation. With a 5 minute conversation, you have a crowd of 5, 6 people, and out of 5 or 6 people that have never held a snake or touched a snake, because of the passion that you bring forward and how well you speak and how good you perform, they're willing to bypass the years and years and years and years and years of negative talk just so that they can touch a snake for the first time. And that's what it was about. Us little kids going to reptile shows. Maybe there was 2 reptile shows or 3 reptile shows a year in Florida. There weren't many. It's not like Repticon now. You have one in every city. It wasn't like that before. So you had people that were very passionate about what they did because it took a lot of passion to get to that point. And they would go to shows, and it was more about education than anything else. It was more about education. You had more students than you had teachers. Now, unfortunately, everybody reads a book and they think that they're a teacher. And that's what happens. You get all these egos mixed in, and people start to preach, and they start to talk about stuff that they've never seen before, and they talk about things that they have no experience in. And unfortunately, when two points of views that don't seem to see eye to eye clash, it becomes a problem, and then that's bad because we're supposed to stick together.
yeah, man. And and I've seen, like you said, I've seen it firsthand when you educate somebody and you show them the passion and the reality. It's a full 360. Somebody's mind changes. And sometimes these people might not even come to buy a snake or a reptile,
Mhm.
um, and then sometimes leave the show with one
Yeah,
just because of the information you gave them, and they saw that it was a passion of somebody. I think
yeah,
also too with us, like you said, it's a family business. We always have our kids behind the table too.
yeah.
Um, so
Our
when
kids
people
look
see that too,
our kids look forward. They look forward to going.
yep,
They look
yep,
forward to going to a show, and they look forward to talking to people and explaining how they feel and why they love. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like this year we were talking to my wife. We are going to go to Daytona, right? And I was like, do we take the girls and stuff for that? And I thought, I was like, there's no way my daughters would let me live it down if I didn't take them.
No
I
way.
would hear all hell, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Nate's at the age where he's gonna start going with us too now to Daytona and everything. Because
Mhm.
before he was too young. It was too young, and it was too much of a chore to be able to handle, vending and doing this and doing that. But at this point, I we wouldn't be able to live it down either. I mean, Nate's got me. He's begging me now just to go to the backyard with a flashlight to go catch brown nose and catch toads and look at frogs. And
Yeah.
this is a Monday to Monday. This is a 7 day, 24 hour, 24/7, 7 day a week event with him now.
Yeah.
And that's how we started. When we were young, we were taking advantage of everything, every little thing, every little opportunity that we had to catch a lizard, to catch. As fortunate as we are living in Florida, we have a lot of different animals that we can go and target or whatever. But as kids, you always take it to the basics. Nighter nose, browner nose, green iguanas, they've been here forever. I'm 39 years old, and I remember clearly when I was 7, 8 years old, going to the canals and seeing all these different iguanas there, and like, as far as I can remember, it's normal. It's been part of the culture. It's been part of the South Florida thing down here. So yeah, it's good. Hopefully, we take a turn for the better, and instead of drilling one opinion or drilling a person for having some, we need to be a little bit more positive and a little bit more proactive in educating and teaching and giving those people a better understanding. And if we could do that, we should be all right.
100%, man. 100%. So you got Brent Gilbert saying
Yeah,
what's up,
what's up,
Signal.
Brent? Hey, Sherry, I see you there. Thank you. And yes, for sure. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it.
Eric's Morph Factory. He's talking about his kids making bracelets and taking them to the
Yeah,
shows. Yeah, I've seen that. So it's pretty great to see that, and
yeah,
that's what I want the shows and the community being more about it. Like I understand there's gonna be little pockets a little bit for everybody, right? Like
yep,
adults only and stuff like that. But for me personally, and I know for you and for Eric, and many people that we're friends with, making it a more family friendly environment is a big part of it, right?
very big part of
Yeah.
it. Very big part of it. It used to be that Daytona was a party scene, and it is, and the reason for that was because a lot of the breeders were already at that age where their kids weren't in the picture or didn't want to be in the picture because they were teens or late teens and all that, and they're trying to do their own thing. And I get that because when I was young, I understood that a little bit more, but
Hmm.
it's kind of like making that full circle where it's becoming more of a young person's point of view now, where there's things that are changing and stuff that is evolving. And these shows, if you look at it, most of these shows are they're 30 and under 25. Most of the people that are at the show, they're 25, and they're buying snakes and they're doing this. And then you have the occasional person that's a little older that has had animals when they were young, and then they had a hiatus, and then all of a sudden they're getting back into the hobby. Or kids that are so passionate, and fathers and mothers that see their kids that are so passionate about animals in general and want to feed that passion, and they get into it and stuff. So education has always been a really big part, and I think it's one of the most important parts in this. And it's what's going to keep the hobby alive. Yeah, it's a business, and you could legitimately it is a legitimate business, and you could run it as a business and everything. And it's something that if you don't have passion, it doesn't go far. It doesn't go far. There's a lot of ups and downs. The same way that you could be up here, it can go down really fast. And if you're not backed by passion and you don't have a good support system behind you, it could definitely make or break you. So it's important to have family that's behind you, because the way that the way that we do it, and we're fortunate enough to have kids. Not everybody has kids, or not everybody has it in their cards, and not everybody's into that. But for the majority of us that that we do have kids and everything, it makes it that much funner and much better. But even if you don't have kids and you're coming to a show and you realize that this was you years ago, and you educate kids and you make them like, well, how we do. We donate. I don't even know how many snakes we donate to teachers a year. I don't even know. Probably, I would say roughly between 15 to 20 snakes that we give to
Hmm.
teachers, that they could prove to us that they want a snake for the classroom, and they show us their classroom. They show us their classroom and show us stuff. They have a picture of the aquarium or in the enclosure, and then we donate. We donate the snake because we want to keep that going.
Yep.
When we were kids, we didn't have snakes in the classroom, because snakes in the classroom was taboo. You had a goldfish if you were lucky, or you had an aquarium with some fish, and that was it. But you didn't have any reptiles. Generally, you didn't have any reptiles or nothing like
No. Yeah. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Now,
You were that weird kid or that weird person that had the reptile, and there's
yeah,
still some of it, but there's a lot more.
yeah.
Um.
You see, your kids have reptiles in the classroom. When none of the classrooms that we were in, none of the schools that I went to had
Hmm.
reptiles in the classroom. We had like goldfish, or we had like maybe some native fish, because they were trying to show us what the fauna was like, stuff like that. Which is, I mean, it's any animal is better than no animal. It teaches
Yeah.
responsibility, and it teaches you how to care for something and understand that everything has feelings. So it's important. But nowadays, you're able to have a reptile in a cage, and a nice setup, and in a room, in a classroom, where most kids that grew up didn't have the ability to have a snake or a reptile in their house, because their moms and parents, their mom or dads were, they were scared of it, or
Yep.
they didn't want to take on that unique responsibility. And I
Yeah.
get it. So how cool is it for you to be able to, you know, reach those types of kids that don't have the ability to have them, but they can go to school and geek out in school, and then
Yeah.
read up on the animal and be like, oh my god, they're not. their natural range is from Canada all the way to, it's cool. It's really cool.
It is.
And
It
that
is.
you're
Yeah.
able to help them. I mean, why not?
No. So Lori, my wife, she said that she never thought she would have a bearded dragon. You were there, remember? She fell in love with that thing at first sight, and then she kept coming back and forth at Daytona to the tables. And it's doing so good now. It's definitely growing. And we'll see what else she brings back from Daytona this year.
Yeah.
Was it last year Daytona? We also did an auction, and my little one brought back the Kenyan Samboa too.
Yeah, remember you guys went. You guys got you got the pair.
Yeah, we got the pair. Yeah.
Of the, I think it was what, the Domas.
Yeah, but the domes. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the pair of the Domas. Yeah. See, that's the type of stuff that you remember, and they remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have a conversation with a friend who can't have reptiles, and back then we didn't have phones with cameras on there or nothing, but they'll go and they'll show them, oh look, here's my snake. Look at how he looked when he was a baby.
Yeah.
And look, you see, those are the memories that we evolve with time. Those are the memories that they share with their friends and everything. Back in the day, for me and you, we had to look at a reptiles magazine and be like, I can't wait to see this chameleon in person, or I can't wait to see this snake, or look at these blue monitors. Look at these tegus. Look at all these albino Burmese python. Look at these, albino ball pythons, albino red-tailed boas, all the crazy stuff that went out in our generation. You couldn't see it until you went to the show, like a Daytona show or the Pomona show, or you went to Tinley, or you went to an exotic, very, very well-known. And then that's how you got the exposure. And then you imagine you're a little kid, and you're talking to somebody who's trying to make, $150,000 business deals, and you kind of get lost in the circle because they don't have the time to sit there and talk to you much. But then there's little kids that are at the table that are on your level, that are their kids, who are able to inform you and give you, the type of information that you want. So it's
Eric, talking about the kids, right? Like having kids at our table and then having kids come to the table. Eric said that his girls always bug you at the shows and stuff about your hog noses. And and that's I have my two daughters that come and help. Like your little one, the younger one, it's a give and take sometimes.
Yeah.
But my older one, she's there from like early morning to late. She's all in.
She puts the stickers back out. She does everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of fun watching the kids at the shows, and I enjoy it because that's the future of this hobby. We got a lot of issues that we got to work through as an industry. There's a lot of things, and there's always going to be stressful moments. You can have a very great season, or you can have a terrible season, or you can have a mediocre season. But you got to take those little bits and pieces of the future, and you got to soak in that for as long as possible, because those are the things that are going to make the best moments better, and they're going to make the worst moments just a tiny bit easier to swallow, because it's stressful no matter how you put it. This is not an easy business or industry to invest in or to be in, because of how how many ups and downs, or how shifty it can get. So seeing kids so into it is definitely I think it's one of my all-time highs, one of my favorites.
Yeah. Andrew, he can see the comments, but he can, I guess, post reply from our streaming service. He'll have to go basically do it on his phone and reply into the comments. But scrolling through the comments.
Yeah, Andrew, I know exactly what you're saying. You know how many times people have scammed other people with my photos and with my information, and then they see me post that same animal that they were supposed to get. And I feel terrible because they're like, oh, yeah, I sent them $300 as a deposit, and then I sent them $200 more, and I never received the animal. And I'm like, $550 is a lot of money, especially in today's economy. It's a lot of money. Yep. It might not be a lot to other people, but to us, it's a lot of money. Any money is a lot of money, especially when you're getting scammed or you're giving your money to somebody. So I was like, man, let me see what I can do. And I've given snakes away like Andrew does. Andrew's a good dude, I appreciate Andrew a lot too. Andrew Sparks, he does the same thing. He understands exactly how it is, and it sucks. It really does. It hurts me. It pains me to know that people use my photos, and for that reason, I started the whole the whole sticker on the deli movement. You know, the whole sticker on the deli movement was because of that, because of the scammers. I had to start, thinking of new and creative ways to be able to make it a little bit more difficult on these guys because they're relentless.
Oh yeah,
At
yeah.
the shows, it's harder for you to get scammed, but online, for a lot of people, especially if you're just starting out and you're like, oh my god, I want to, let's say, something a little as common as a toxic. Oh, I want a toxic. A toxic still, $8 to $1,000 for a normal one, and then you see somebody post like a sub adult for $400. You're gonna be like, oh my god, that's a
Yep.
great deal. That's
Yep.
exactly how much money I have saved up. And then the next thing you know, they get scammed, and now they have no money and no snake, and it took them, maybe a year to save up to $400. So
Yeah.
it's terrible. It sucks.
It is, and then then you have to try to, because you get message or like you scam me, and then your name gets dragged through it. So then you
Yeah,
have to play catch up and defend your name towards
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And like you said, nowadays, even with like all the photo apps, the editing there is, it's easy for people to get scammed.
yeah. It is. It
You know.
is. It is. It is. But like, but the good thing about the groups, online groups, is
Mhm.
that they have good moderators. There's people that take that title serious, and they'll sit there and they'll decipher of what's a scam or what isn't a scam, and then we all kind of like work together. So if I see something that's a little fishy, then I'll go ahead and I'll say something, and then they'll private message me like, hey, well, you think this is a scam? And then I'll tell them, okay, look, this is the reason why. And then they'll go ahead and they'll remove the post if they feel it is something, like, because they fish on there a lot.
Oh, for
They fish
sure.
on,
Yeah.
and all those in search of ISO posts and everything, they're all over those posts, and they're getting so smart that they're not even commenting on the actual thread. They're private messaging them right straight to the point. Oh, I have this animal for sale. Oh, I could ship this to you. So if you look at the verbiage, you could tell what's a scam and what isn't a scam, and just ask questions. These people don't have an idea of what they're selling. They're just pulling posts and looking at the animals and copying and pasting. So if you sit there and you ask them questions, you'll get the same. It looks like the same amount of the same questions and the same answers are just going to be
Mhm.
filtered through.
Mhm.
So if you ask,
And then they'll start asking you to send a deposit like
yeah, they'll push
ASAP,
you to
and
send
yeah,
deposits. They'll
yeah,
push you to send
yeah,
deposits. Oh, I got more people interested in the snake. Send a deposit and all this, and you
yeah,
already know. So
yeah.
that's something that a lot of people need to really focus on, because there's a lot of scammers, and if we don't stick
Hmm.
together, man, unfortunately, there's a lot of little kids. There's a lot of people who are gonna get scammed, and it shouldn't be like that. We
Yeah,
work too hard we work too hard for our money.
for sure. Yeah, like you said, like little kids, especially like a parent trying to buy a hog nose or any animal for their child for their birthday party or something that, and then they get scammed out of that money. Um,
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
it's hard to see that.
It's very
But
hard.
yeah, you know, we're talking about education and stuff like that. I know you've done it, and I've done it too, where we take our snakes to our kids' school and do like a
Yeah.
show and tell and inform it.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. That's, to me, it's fun too. I like to, we like to
Oh,
talk about our snake and our passion.
yeah. It's awesome.
So,
I love seeing little kids excited to get all riled up.
mhm.
And then a lot of these kids, like I said, they've only seen them in shows, or they've only seen them when they go to the zoo or anything like that. They've never actually been able to like touch a snake. So when you have a snake that you walk around and they just, quick little swipe of the finger, it gives them it gives them like a little bit more. It adds to that passion. It adds to that, little by little they start to get, and those are going to be the people and the kids who develop the eye and the passion, and then they're the ones that are gonna come up to us at a show with $100 and they want a $300 snake, but they can't afford it, but they've been saving up for so long, and you've seen it. You know how it goes.
Mhm.
You know how it
Mhm.
goes,
Yeah, man.
and we
So
help.
we're talking about kids and stuff like that, and we've, like I said, we know each other, so I know these conversations we've had and stuff. You've been passionate about reptiles and animals since you were younger. So
Yeah.
when was like at what age did you understand your passion for your animals, and what was the first animal that you had in your hands?
All right. So I started. I started.
Mhm.
I had a lot of freedom when I was a kid. I had a lot of freedom. My parents weren't your typical ideal parents. My sister's 9 years older than me, and I'm like the little one. But I'm more like the black sheep of the family, so I kind of I used to get into a lot of trouble. So the best way that they could handle me was just give me freedom, go to the backyard, go here, go there, go do this, and that's how they kind of handle me. I was a lot to handle because I was a hyperactive kid. I wanted to be into everything. It was hard to get me to watch just TV. I had a different I had a different perspective. Fun to me wasn't sitting down playing video games. It had never been like that. I've never sat down and played video games. I just didn't see it. So me, it was more being outside. So same thing that Nate's doing now at 5 years old. It's pretty much the same thing that I was doing. Going to my backyard within, the safe parameters for my parents in my backyard. I would be out there 6, 7 o'clock in the morning trying to catch brown and nose. I was making. My dad's an electrician by trade, so I was getting, receptacle wires and doing little nooses and then getting close and catching up. I think I caught every brown and nose that was in my neighborhood. Every brown and all, green and all. Back then, we had a lot of green and alls. We had night and alls and everything in my little neighborhood. I grew up in Mango Hill, in Hialeah, so there's a lot of big trees, and I would go in the backyard, and I would just go and catch brown and nose and catch everything. And then as I got a little older, like around 7 years old, I started to go to the lake by myself, which was not that far. I would go fishing, and then I would go. That's when I started to get into the iguanas that were there. I would catch iguanas and then bring them home and have them as pets. My parents, they let me because they knew that I was responsible. Like,
Mhm.
I was a kid and I was a wild child, but when it came to animals, I always fed them when they were needed to be fed and everything. So they didn't have a problem with me. In fact, by like 8 years old, I asked my dad and I told him, Dad, I really, really, really want to build a cage in the backyard. And my dad's like, well, what are you going to put in it? I wanted to get an iguana. He was like, an iguana? I was like, yeah, I want to get an iguana and I want to put it in the backyard and I want to. He goes, okay. So that weekend, my father had his friends come over that were carpenters and everything, and they built a cage for me. And then I went and I cherry picked the best green iguana that I found, and then I brought it home and I started feeding it. It took him like 2 weeks to eat. He was so stressed out. He didn't imagine it was been a while that they bring him back home. And I was a little kid, so I didn't really know much. And then I started to get it to eat, and I started to get it. And he lived a lot of years with me. I think I was like 14, and he was still alive. And then
Wow.
one day he got loose. He got loose, and I never saw him again. Something must have come into the cage. There was a big tear on the side of the cage, so it must have been like a raccoon or something that
Mhm.
ripped the cage open to try to get the leftover food, and then he got out, and I never saw him again. But yeah, that's how I got. And then the thing about living in South Florida, like in the South, like Miami and Hialeah and everything, that there's pet stores. There's a lot of
Yeah.
pets, and most pet stores here have reptiles. So I would walk to school. I would walk to school, and on the way to school and on the way back, there was a reptile shop, Amazon Pet Market. It was owned by a Brazilian lady. Her name is Shirley, and her family. She had three sons and then her. And I would go in there all the time. Come home, go in there, come home. On the way home from school, I would always go into the pet store every day. And by like 3 weeks or 4 weeks of doing that, I would always ask questions about the reptiles and everything. And I saw that they weren't keeping the reptiles like the way it's supposed to. So I was like, you guys should probably try to do this and that. And then the lady was looking at this kid like, what are you talking about?
What do you
I'm
know
like,
about this?
"Yeah."
Yeah.
She had a rainbow bowl with a heating rock and all this, and I'm like, no, but these guys are not from this part of the world. You're treating them like if they all need heat, they don't need heat, and they don't need this, and then she's like, do you want to volunteer here? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Volunteer? She's like, yeah, if your parents are okay with it, you can come over here after school. We close at 9 o'clock. I'll have you home by 9:30, the latest. I'm like, my parents would definitely let me volunteer. And I went home that day and I told my parents, I said, look, I'm gonna volunteer. Is it okay with you guys? They're like, yeah, it's okay. I said, all right. And that was it. ever since then, I went into the store and I volunteered, and then I started working my way up, and she volunteered, and then she started noticing that when I was there, that the animals started to do better. So then, what did they do? They started to give me a commission, and then that's how I started to get. I'm like, okay, well, she's like, do you want me to pay you out? How do you want your money? Do you want me to give your parents the money? I said, no, 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 don't give my parents the money. Let it accumulate, and then I'll work towards the animals that I want. She's like, as long as your parents are okay. I'm like, okay, I'll talk to them. And then that's how I started getting into the snakes. That's how I got my first Burmese python. That's how I got my red tail boas. That's how I got the blue-headed iguanas. That's how I got all that, that more expensive, elaborate stuff. I got through that. But we're talking about strictly reptile days where they were, the it. And we would go over there, and I would sleep over her house on Fridays. I would sleep over her house on Fridays because I, build a really good relationship with her and her kids. Her youngest son was three years older than me, and he was into fishing. I was into fishing, and he had a license. I didn't have a license at the time or nothing, so he would come pick me up at the house, and we'll go hang out, go to the movies, go whatever Friday night after work, and then we'll go to his house. I'll sleep over, and then go to Strictly Reptiles in the morning, and then we'll go and buy all the reptiles that we were gonna have for the week, because we were literally sell out in the week. We will sell out in the week, so we'll go get 2 Burmese pythons, a couple of ball pythons. We'll come get some, some spiders. He really likes spiders, so we'll go get spiders. That's one thing that I respect. But he was into spiders a lot of times, so he did the spiders and all that. It was a good times. It was a good introductory. That was one of the things. That's what I think that being able to volunteer at the reptile shop and seeing what it took to be able to invest money, get it in return, invest, what it took to talk to people, what it took to educate people, like the whole perspective, not only from a breeder's point of view, because they weren't breeders, but they had a storefront, a fully functional operation. And they were there for years, 25, 30 years. The lady retired and the store closed after she retired, but the lady retired with the store open. She decided, so that's it, I can't no more, I'm too old, my kids are doing their own thing, and she retired. She closed the shop. But I got to experience it and see the full circle of it. And I think that's what helped me understand the business aspect of it, and knowing how it's important to put in the time with the animals, and it's more important to talk to the people and educate and make sure that they know what they're getting into, and make sure that the animals are always taken care of. And that's one of the things that I think is very important in today's industry, and the industry that we know today, that we know and love today, is very important. A lot of people forget that. A lot of people try to mass produce, and they don't know that just because you mass produce doesn't mean you're gonna make more money. It comes with a lot of losses and a lot of setbacks and things that you need to be prepared for. And I think that me being able to see it from that point of view and being able to be baptized in that aspect was probably one of the things that enabled me to be able to look at it from a larger scale. Not everybody can handle being a larger scale. It takes a lot. It takes a lot more.
Yeah.
It's a lot to run a business, especially
It
a
is.
reptile business, but it takes a lot more to be able to run it efficiently and to run it successfully without scamming people, making sure that your brand is 100%. It takes a lot.
Yeah. And learning those important values and experiences at that young age, I think definitely set you up for success to where you're at today.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, probably like 20 years ago and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then so you work at that pet shop, and then from
Mhm.
there you just started having reptiles all the way through up to now, right?
Listen, I was volunteering there I think it was like around the age of 9 or 10. I was already volunteering there at at 15. At the age of 15, I was hatching out panther chameleons, which is something that was very difficult for people. Even today, it's very difficult for people to do. I was hatching out 400, 500 panther chameleons in a year. I was hatching out. I was helping them hatch out bearded dragons. I was helping them hatch out leopard gecko eggs, African fat tails. Because I told them, yes, we're gonna go and we're gonna buy, but if you have nice animals and you set them up, you'll be able to have an even better operation. And that's where my intuition helped. That's where I became a little bit more of a breeder rather than a seller, because
Mhm.
I let them know, look, you guys could be looking at it from a different point of view. Instead of having to go to the store all the time, you'd be able to produce. It takes a little bit of pressure off. You have a little bit more control over the quality of the animals, because sometimes Strictly Reptiles didn't have what we were looking for, because they're a wholesaler, so it's
Yeah,
difficult. Sometimes the animals that came in on a certain shipment were in such bad shape that I didn't feel comfortable buying it, even if they're giving me for half the price, because I know that if I were to turn around and try to revive the animal, and if somebody wanted it and we sold the animal, it was gonna die on somebody. So I didn't want to break somebody's heart. You know how bad it
sure.
feels. You know how if it feels bad for us and we're breeders and we know that it's something that we got to be a little bit more open to. Imagine somebody who's just buying an animal and then it dies on them. That's not good. That's another problem that we have in this industry, that some people just don't care. They have no remorse. They just don't care. They don't have any.
Yeah.
They just don't care. It's more about the
Did
money than
you?
anything.
Yeah. Did you see the animal as a number and that's it?
Yeah,
But you know what? And those people eventually it shows in the animals they produce, and those people make money in a short time period, but never last really long.
yeah. Well, those
Too.
are the people. They have that get rich mentality, get rich quick mentality. And this is,
Hmm.
I mean, reptiles, you can make money, but you're not gonna make money fast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
This
Quick,
is
quick.
something that you have to look at it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
That's why I
Do
told you.
you? Yeah. Do
That's
you
why I told
have
you
real
it takes
quickly?
time.
I heard it through the thing. Do you have your phone on silent? Because I hear pingings. I think is your phone pinging?
Yeah, no, it's on silent.
It's on silent. Okay. It
Yeah.
might be the computer then.
Okay.
Um, but you know, and that's important. Like having quality. And from the moment I spoke to you and I came and saw what you had, I knew that I wanted to buy animals from you, and then from there we built a friendship, and I've a lot of what I know about hognose to this day I know from you, and day to day I'm learning and stuff like that. A lot of people know you for hognoses, but you're working with other stuff too.
We worked with a lot of stuff. I mean, through the
Mhm.
years, I've probably hatched over 100 different species in my time, from turtles to geckos to chameleons to all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff. All
Yes.
sorts. We did
Do you?
Rhacodactylus. We did all Rhacodactylus. So we hatched out lychees. We hatched out crescent geckos. We hatched out chahuas. We hatched out gargoyles, um, leopard geckos, fat tail geckos, morning geckos, day geckos, uh, panther chameleons. We've done ocelots. We've done veils. We've done we've done Melorize. We've done uh, carpet chameleons, some montane species too. Uh, I don't know. A lot
So
of stuff.
through all those different species you've worked with, do do you think you're most successful with the hog noses?
I think that it depends on how you define success.
Hmm.
It depends on how you define success, because it depends for the person. Personally, I define success by being able to figure out and crack the code, not necessarily by being able to breed something and sell it for a substantial amount of money. I find success being able to pick something up that you have no idea how, and work your way up to the point where you can consistently give them a beautiful life and be able to breed. So I think that that's the way I personally define success, and I was able to do that with a lot of things. When I first started, you didn't have Google. You didn't have anything. You had to literally use books and use your imagination and picture. Okay, in these books, it says that this time of year is there, but if their, if their summer is our winter, then maybe that's the reason why I'm doing this differently, or maybe this. And so you didn't have a lot of information, so you had to use your imagination.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I find success being something that you get into with very little experience, very little knowledge, and you build yourself up to the point where you could actually give people advice, sane advice, and correct advice. Even though what may work for me may not work for somebody in Ohio, what may work for somebody in Ohio may not work for me, but being able to have a baseline and be able to help other people figure out their baseline based on the experience that you have, I find that I find that being a success. And we did that with a lot of stuff, with a lot of stuff, with a lot of different species. I think one of the pinnacles was hatching out Melorize. I think one of the best. I think one of the coolest species that we hatched out were uh, the Semetis, which is the leaf-tailed geckos. We did that for a little while. Fantasticus, which is the satanic leaf-tails. We did that too. I mean, it depends, because
Yeah.
we were hatching out probably 300, 400 leopard geckos, high-end leopard geckos back in 90, 98, 99. We were hatching out a bunch of panther chameleons. That's I think one of the animals that I was mostly drawn to was panther chameleons, and still to this day is chameleons in general. But, we've done monitors. We've done a lot of stuff. Stores monitors. We did, just a lot of different stuff, man.
Yeah.
Imagine for somebody who's been in the so for somebody who's been passionate about hognose, or not hognose, but reptiles in general. So for somebody who's been passionate about reptiles, with the ability, because parents didn't really restrict me too much, I got into a lot of stuff at a very young age, and I was fortunate enough to have that accessible, because I could go to strictly reptiles when a lot of people couldn't because they didn't have the permit, or they weren't able to. They didn't have the access. So being able to go in there and cherry pick through everything that came in, I was in a very good position to be able to feed that passion and build off of that.
For sure. So how long have you been into Hognose now?
Hognose, I've been in Hognose about 8 years now. 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, just about 8 years.
About years. Okay. And then currently, because I know currently what other species you're working with other than Western Hognoses?
The list is still growing. I'm just picking. I'm picking. I have a small group of corn snakes. I have a small, we're building the Candoya aspers, which is the viper boas. We're building a small group. I just rehomed my whole group of rainbow boas. They're going to Pennsylvania. I have the Madagascar giants, which are awesome. I love those hognose. We have tricolors, and I believe that's it right now. For now,
Okay. Yeah.
that's it. Oh, we have the jumping spiders. We have Nate and Nikki's jumping spiders. We have the monkey tree frogs, the whites. We have the whites. We have a lot of those, the super snowflakes and the blue snowflakes, and I don't even know a lot of that. And then we have some geckos too. We have the super stripe project that I was one of the first ones to start. Not first ones to. I didn't discover it, but I took onto it early. So we have some of that stuff. We have gargoyles, and we have chahuas too. I don't have any lychees yet, but I'm probably gonna get back into lychees too. And that's it.
Yeah.
Now that I went full time, that I was doing this while I was working full time, and I had a stressful full time job. And now that I made the switch, I kind of have a little bit more time. So I'm just figuring out, where do I want to go? How much free time do I really have? How much free time do I really want to have? So I'm kind of, picking and choosing where I'm going and putting feelers out there. I'm considering getting back into panther chameleons. I'm considering getting back into a couple of things that I was, really passionate about, that really drew me. Especially since I see Nate takes a lot after me and likes a lot of the lizards too. So I'm considering that. But with the whole thing going on with FWC, it's kind of hard to expand in something because I don't want to. I'm not the type of person that likes to invest in something and get emotionally focused and driven about something, and then have to, let it all go.
Yeah.
I have
So
to start something and finish it. I
yeah,
can't, start something and then just give it up. It
yeah,
breaks me.
for sure. And then you mentioned something I want to touch on because you said you went full time now, right? And that happened sometime last year. What was that moment where you said, all right, it's time to step away from the everyday 9 to 5, and then I would say follow your full passion into reptiles.
Well,
And any recommendations on anybody that's looking to do that?
to be honest, it's scary. It's scary, especially at our age, where we have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of people are counting on us.
Mhm.
It took every bit of about 2 years for me to convince myself. And through those 2 years, if I would have done it, I probably would have been in a much better place right now. But we live and we learn. I mean, with no risk, there's no reward.
Mhm.
The only way that you're gonna grow is by pushing your limits. And if you don't push your limits, then you're never gonna grow. And if you're okay with staying in the same place forever, then so be it. More power to you. But unfortunately for us, we want to continue to grow because it's not just for us. It's 25% for us, 75% for our family. So me wanting to grow and me wanting to spend more time with my son, and me wanting to be able to do the things that I know he's asking of me without verbally telling me, and I know that it's going to be asked of me. I needed to quit my job because there was no way. I was working a job that took a lot out of me, and then coming home, spending an hour with my son lets me realize that it wasn't worth it. It just wasn't. That grind wasn't it for me. So I kind of already had a successful business, hobby business with the Hognose, that I said, you know what, I have to do it now, because if I don't do it now, then it's never gonna happen. So I had to think outside of it.
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
I had to I had to do it. I just had to. If somebody's in the position where they feel like it's a 50-50 where it'll be successful, then you're not wasting any time, because an opportunity is an opportunity, but if you don't take it, then you'll never know you never know what that door could have led you to.
Yeah.
So you have
You're always what if too. You
yeah,
always what if I would have done that, right?
because we spoke about it while it was happening.
Hmm.
It happened to happen that you and I were going down very similar roads at the very exact moment,
Yeah.
and I took the plunge a little bit before you, and it scared me. Still to this day, I'm a little like, whoa, okay, but it has to happen. The only way that we're gonna grow is by taking risks, and
Yeah.
every time that we put ourselves in a position where we're like, oh my god, I don't know if it's gonna work, but it has to work. It works. It might
Hmm.
not be as obvious as we would like, but it opens doors that we didn't know were there, and then it just takes us to another little route, or a little way to where we're able to grow.
Yeah.
The
And
problem with
understanding that and understand there's gonna be ups and downs, right? Like it's
oh,
not gonna be perfect, even though you're doing your passion that you want to do your probably for the rest of your life. At the end of the day, right now it's a business, and in a business there's ups and downs, there's wins and losses, right? And I think a very important part is having a good family support system, having a team behind you. Sherry Ann is here. Good comment about yourself, and I agree with her. It's I think it's when you're ready and putting your all your effort into it.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's scary though. It's scary to put all your eggs in one basket,
it
especially
is.
growing up poor and
Hmm.
growing up taking L's and losing this and losing that. Nobody likes to lose, but if we're gonna lose in the form of growth, then take whatever you need from me. Take whatever you need from me. I'll be okay. I've been okay till now. I'm gonna be okay. It just changes it a little bit, because when you're doing things like supporting a family, being a role model, helping other people, helping yourself, finding time for you so you could be a better person to help other people. You have to have a level of respect and dignity and self love and self awareness that you can't do that when you're judgment, when you have a clouded judgment because you're stressed about a job or stressed about something that isn't gonna push you in the right direction.
Yeah.
So that mental clarity that I got from not having to do the thing that I was doing that really stressed me out, it was great because now I don't come home stressed out. I don't come home to a point where I'm like, oh my God, now I gotta go in the snake, or oh my God, I gotta go do it. No, now I'm like, okay, I caught a clutch of slugs. It could have been worse. I could have worked and come home to a clutch of slugs. You know what I
That's
mean?
true. Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
just here like, okay, what can
Yeah.
I do better next time to bounce back from this? Not
Yeah.
not looking at it like, oh my God, the cup is
No.
always half empty. No, the cup is always
Yeah.
half full now because you
And
have,
instead of wasting your mind power at somebody else's business, now
yeah,
you can use that to build your own.
exactly,
And then at the end of the day too, you have more time for your animals, and it shows.
yeah. That's the thing. The thing is that you get what you put forward. You
Mhm.
get what you put forward. There's people who wing it and it works for them. I'm not. I've never been that
Yeah.
person. Whenever I wing anything, which is very rarely, it never works out for me. Never. I'm the type of person that I have to be into. I have to be passionate in order for me to do it. And it wasn't it no more for me. Knowing that I could
Yeah.
have focused on this for a long time, I took a lot of I because of who I am, because of the type of person and the type of commitment that I had, and the integrity of who I am. I stayed in that job longer, and that caused me to downward spiral on the passion that I had for myself. And that's the reason why, towards the very end of it, that's the reason why I knew I had to cut ties. So here we are, a year later, a year older, a year wiser, doing what I love, waking up in the morning and being able to talk to people while I'm cleaning the snake room, while I'm doing this, while I'm doing that, focusing on next year, thinking about plans. You helped me. How many days did it take us to put everything on Husbandry Pro?
Like 4 days.
Yeah, 4 nonstop straight days,
Yeah.
right? How would I
Yeah.
have been able to do that if I was working? I would come home,
It's
have an hour.
impossible. Yeah.
You think
Hmm.
that I would have the mental clarity to sit in front of a computer after I already sat in front of a computer
No.
for 6 hours? No
Yep.
way.
No. No
There's no
way.
way that
Yeah.
I would have been doing it.
And like you said, our paths, and I've mentioned this to you, our friendship and our paths collided in the perfect time frame
Yeah,
because I was getting into hog noses, and then through the year it passed. You were at that point where you knew you wanted to go full time. I was leaving my 9 to 5 regular job as well, and then about I think it was like 2 month difference on when we did that. And then, like you said, I wouldn't have been had able to come and sit down with you 4 days in a row to help you with that. And
exactly.
you know, if I had to go sit at my regular 9 to 5 every day,
Yeah.
um, and then me helping you helps me.
Hold on,
The
hold on.
timer went off. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the timer. Hold on.
yeah. Guys, where he's turned on his lights on. Let's get the likes up. On this on this live. Make sure to hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel. The link to his link is down below. So go follow Eslin on Instagram and and his morph market too.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing on Morph Market now. we're
Yeah,
working on
because
getting we're working on getting a group together. Yeah, we're doing a purge here now. We got a lot of holdbacks. We got a little bit more than we should have held back. So now we're trying to go through everything and make sure that we put a group together to put up.
all
Um,
right, so you guys heard this here, right? Like, keep an eye out on his morph market because
yeah,
he's gonna definitely release some holdbacks, and
yeah, yeah.
if he's releasing holdbacks, it's gonna be some really fire stuff coming out on that morph market. So keep an eye
Yeah,
out and
got some
save
holdback.
your money. Yeah,
Yeah, we did. I kept a little bit more than I normally do, and I don't plan to expand as big as I was gonna get. I want to kind
Mhm.
of like fine tune what I got now,
Yeah,
and then work towards expanding again. But yeah, definitely, definitely.
And
You know
so
how it is here. You know how I am about the stuff that I do. I try to put everything. I put everything I got into it,
yeah,
and there's a lot of projects that I've been working towards for years now since I first started, and there's things that I envisioned, and there's a couple of people that we know that envision the same projects, and we've been working together to try to get to those goals. So you try to keep as much because you don't know how it's going to turn out, and you want to be able to
yeah,
accomplish those goals and set those goals and then move on, expand, and then put more. and I was a little holdback crazy.
Yeah. You know, earlier you touched about the success with your animals. What does success look for you, especially now that you're 100% full time in, you know, and it's almost one in together with your animals, but
Yeah.
then your personal life with your family. Like, what does your success vision look like to you,
Well, first and
and
foremost,
what does it mean to you? Yeah.
yeah, the most important thing is being a good parent. Being a good parent. My son, is very important to me. If I'm able to be a good role model to my son, be a good faithful husband to my wife, be able to provide a provider and everything, then it's success. That's a success right there. The
Yeah.
animals are a means of me being able to do that, but in its entirety, it's feeding my soul. I come in here in the morning and I'm charging my batteries. Even though my batteries are charged because I slept the whole night, I'm coming in here and now I'm in what we would call therapy mode. This is therapy for me. Going in here and looking at the snakes and making sure that this one's doing good and looking down. Even though it's stressful at times because things happen, it's good. So success to me is being able to efficiently breed, minimize the hiccups, and continue to grow and push forward and helping others grow.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that I help on a daily basis, and I don't do it to toot my own horn. Most of the people that I help don't even go on there and talk about. I don't care. I just know that there's somebody who's need help, and I'm gonna give it to them. If I have the answers, I give them the answers. If I don't have the answers, then I'm gonna look for them because now I'm emotionally invested into it, and I'm gonna try to help people because that's just who we are.
Yep.
That's just how we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. And man, I've been there. When I come over to your place and stuff like that, you're always messaging, responding to either a customer or somebody that's just interested in hog noses.
Yeah,
But you never um just put anybody to the side because they're not buying a hog nose from you. And I think that was one of the main reasons that I did buy from you, because I did message a few other people, but you're the only one that gave me an actual response, like actual, hey, what's going on, and wanted to know more about what I was looking for, not
yeah,
just like, yeah, I have hog noses, this is the price, right?
yeah,
Um, you were actually invested in the transaction, and then it grew from there.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I could also see the point of view. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that window shop.
mhm.
So I can see the frustration behind it, and while some people will be like that, but it adds to the negativity, like to the downward spiral that the hobby and the industry is, going in. I
100%,
don't like
yeah.
to do that. I rather educate somebody. Sometimes people don't even know the value of an animal. They're contacting you about an animal that they fell in love with, but they don't know that the value is in the thousands. They could only afford hundreds. I can't sit there and be like, "Oh, look at you, window shopping.
Yeah.
Go shop at Kia. You're looking for Ferrari pricing, and you got you got Kia money."
Hmm.
No, I don't tell people that because they're not educated. If they knew it, they wouldn't
Yeah.
want to. They wouldn't want to be in those shoes. So you take that time to educate people and tell them, look, this animal is worth a lot because it takes this amount of time to get to that animal, and if you were to breed that animal right now, it would put you in a position where you would be able to be making x amount of money, or you went to the front of the line and you just saved yourself 5-6 years. So those are the things that it takes education. You got to be there, bro. You have to put in the time with people, man. And like you said,
Yeah.
you seen it when I'm here. I got people that I don't even know that got my number from somebody that bought a snake from me, but they're having issues and they're like, can you help somebody out? Or oh, my friend referred me to you, and I help more people than I sell to. Believe it or not, I help more people than that I ever sell to, and I don't do it with the intentions of bragging about or boasting. No, it's just people need help. If I need help and I go to somebody, I would appreciate if they were to help me, and that's the way we pay it forward.
Yeah.
It's all about being able to pay it forward.
You know. So, and you have your, great success right now on the hog noses. You've created last year. You hit world first, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Was
You
was
actually hit a
that?
We hit a few, but I
Yeah.
just haven't really posted much. I hit a lot. I've hit quite a few in the last 2 3 years, but I just don't post them like that. Like, oh, so world's first. I share
Yeah.
animals, and people are like, oh my god, and they
Yeah.
don't know. Like, we hit a lot of.
Was that a goal, or was that just a product of
Oh yeah,
you breeding your your passions of
no, no,
what
no.
you
That
wanted
was
to
a
work?
goal. That was
That
a
was a
goal.
goal.
I saw frosteds, and not everybody liked frosteds. And I
Mm.
took frosteds because of the caramel, and then because of the hypo, and I separated the two. And then I went ahead and I added to that because I thought that hypo wouldn't be that good with an albino, but caramel and albino look little bit better because of the subtle differences that caramel brings to the table, and then certain things. And that's when I started to work on that. So when I got to the super Arctic frosted, I wasn't on the Arctic train in the beginning because I was more trying to get my recessives to a much more powerful level. So I didn't invest into the Arctic gene until I was, already established with my recessives, and then I brought Arctic into it. When I had all my frosteds, I had this, I had that. I added the Arctic into it, like I did with the Sable. I never purchased something that has all the genes that I'm looking for. I always work my way up to what I'm trying to go because it's much more meaningful for me.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's not about money. With us, it's more about the adventure, the ride. It's about getting to that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
and
And
that's where
eventually the
sometimes,
money will come. Eventually the money will come
yeah,
with the
that's
passion
why,
and time.
that's why when sometimes when I share an animal and it could be the same as the same genetics that it was shared, prior a day or two before, people ask me, what is the genetics behind that animal? Sometimes my animals look a little different because I take the steps to get there. I don't just buy animals from this person. I buy animals from that person and breed them together and then claim for it to be
Yeah.
my own. I
Yeah.
kind of I decipher it and I start building the pieces season by season, layer by layer, and get to that point. So with the super Arctic frost, it took us about 4 years to get to that point, and it was stressful, but it was worth it. It was very worth it when I saw
For
that head.
sure.
And I remember
Yeah.
sending it to a couple people, and they're like, "I don't know what that looks like. I don't think it's this. I don't think it's that." I'm like, "It's that. It's that." I hatched
Yeah.
out a bunch of frosted. I hatched
Yeah.
out a bunch. It's that. And then, sure enough, when it came out, it was obvious. It was
Yeah.
obvious, and we hit the
Especially after that first shed, right? Super
yeah.
art,
We hit the conda and we hit the normal
you know.
super Arctic frosted and super Arctic frosted conda. We called one graphite. The super Arctic frosted is the graphite, and the super Arctic frosted conda is the blue steel. And the blue steel, the conda one, bred to two different girls this year. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
The
Nice.
regular graphite, even though he's bigger than the blue steel, didn't want to breed. He wasn't interested in the girls. He's more interested in food right now.
He'll be a good breeder next year. He's gonna definitely get good size, and he'll be ready next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, next
So
year he'll be breeding to more females.
nice.
Yeah, this year I bred the brother because he was the one that was interested, and we bred him to a lavender superconda female. We bred him to a Arctic lavender girl, and that was it.
Yeah. No, we had a little bit of a question earlier from Noel, Two Girls Geckos. She's asking about, we're talking about expos and stuff. Now that we're getting into husbandry and animals, she's asking how you protect yourself against mites and other issues in the reptile show.
That's a very good question. So personally, one of the first things that I do whenever I'm going to shows or coming back from shows, you know how we do it because you help me break down and you've helped me set up and everything. When we come back from a reptile show, we set everything up in their own bin, but we give them fresh aspirin, we give them water, we give them everything, we hydrate them. In our room is set up to where we have our lights on a timer. We have pretty much everything is climate controlled. If there's any outbreak in here, we use something called diatomaceous earth, which is basically like a calcium sand. It's a very fine sand, and that with no chemicals, it gets rid of mites. It kills mites. It dries them out, and that's usually what we use if there's an issue. But the reason why we haven't had any issues with cross contamination with anything like that, it's because we're very we're very methodical with what we do. We're very detailed. So if we notice that there's an issue, we usually catch it pretty quick. And if there
Yeah.
is an issue, then we would handle it. But we haven't had we had issues with mites one time, and it was because of a rack that we had bought from one of these big chain companies. And when we got home, we bought it at Daytona. When we got home, unfortunately, it was riddled with mites, baby mites. And by the time I didn't see it, I didn't expect it. And when we set up the babies that were from that season, when we set up the babies in that rack, there was mites. And like I said, if you catch it and you know what to do, you don't freak out, you can get rid of mites. And that's what Diatomaceous earth. It helps and it gets rid of everything, so you wouldn't have the problem.
Jamie said he loves and hates that stuff.
Yeah, Jamie, definitely. You talk about Diatomaceous earth and Jamie twitches a
Starts
little.
twitching. And
We all do, though.
yeah, and the reason for using that is because hognose are so easily susceptible to like chemicals.
Yeah.
They're very sensitive to it.
How many times do we see that on a yearly basis when there's been ball python breeders that use they use Nix or they use Prevenamite, they use all that stuff, which is great with them because they get away with it. But unfortunately, we can't use that stuff. So they don't know that. They'll buy a hognose from somebody. They'll take it home. They'll put it in the bin in the rack where they've already treated it with Prevenamite or with Nix or whatever to prevent any outbreak, which is good because that's a good thing to do. It's good to prevent things from happening. It's very good husbandry to prevent things from happening. But there's certain species like hognose that don't do well with those harsh chemicals. Mm-hmm. And then they'll start to death roll. They'll start to build a neurological, side effect to it. And then unfortunately, sometimes there's no cure. And then they'll reach out to us and be like, listen, I put the snake, it was fine. And then, a couple hours later, it started to show issues. Like, and then you got to go down the list, the
troubleshooting list. Yeah.
What's going on? This and that. Then it has to be that. And that's one of the things that, what do we talk about when we're at shows? You educate people, let them know, like, do you have other animals? You kind of feel them out a little bit because a lot of people that are buying animals at shows don't necessarily have the experience to know that there's certain things that they need to do in order to prevent things from happening. So with the experience that we have and that we bring to the table, there's a reason why certain people have that, and you're able to deal with those things. You're able to give somebody the insight, and then you could prevent somebody from falling down that rabbit hole of having to deal with mites or having to deal with an issue. It's something that could be prevented. Like one of the problems that people don't do is that they don't take precautionary measures. They buy something from somebody at the show, they don't quarantine it, they don't do anything. They just take it into their animals. Yeah, they might only have 6 animals, but that doesn't mean anything. You could buy an animal from a sketchy place. We already know that most of these reptile shows are not actual breeders. They're flippers. They're people who resell. They buy for a profit. They buy for a price and they sell for a profit. And they change hands so many times that there's so many issues that can happen. And then they go and they take that animal home. They're happy. And they don't know that that animal is riddled internally or might have external or internal parasites or something, and then cause an issue. And it could have easily been prevented because you could have isolated that animal, put it in a quarantine rack or a quarantine bin, and let that animal go through the motions and see if there's any visual keys of something being wrong or not, and then add it to your collection. That's one of the things that people don't do. They'll go to a reptile show or they'll buy an animal online. When the animal arrives, they're already breeding it. They're getting the animal, pulling the box open, and they're putting a male inside with a female that they've had, because they're so eager to breed and eager to produce and eager to sell that they, bypass very important parameters. Like, you cannot do that.
No, it's very, like you said, it's very important to quarantine and to research who you're getting your animals from too. We're talking about it, like this podcast. It's 50% the person behind the animals and then the animals. Because if you know that if you get to know the person that's breeding these animals, taking care of these animals, you have a safer or more secure, we'll say like transaction, and you feel safe buying these animals from somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
It is very important. You're not, when you buy an animal from a reptile breeder, you're not only buying an animal, but you're buying everything that person believes in. If he's a corner cutter, you're buying all those corners that person cut. You're buying that. If it's a person that doesn't believe in outcrossing, you're buying every single generation that he skipped. He's handing it to you on a silver platter. So
Very true. Yeah.
you got to know the people that you're buying from.
Yeah.
And
Very
it's like
true.
that. It's like that. You know that phrase that says, "The more you know, the more you don't know." The more you know about this, the more you don't know how to buy from people, because a lot of people are corner cutters. And when you're trying to establish something and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon for you, you're trying to find the important, animals that bring the same quality and attention to detail that you bring to your collection stands for. You're trying to buy animals from somebody who stands on the same two principles, has the same principles as you do. Not
Yeah.
everybody may think the same way as you, but it's important to be able to buy animals and bring animals bring animals into your collection that come from people who are like-minded, because you know that you're getting quality.
Yeah.
That's
And we
that's difficult
yeah.
to do in this business today, because a lot of people are looking at it from an investing point of view. And yeah, if you're gonna try to race for world's first and everything, you're gonna breed auntie, uncles. You're gonna go down the whole line because you're trying to get to that point as fast as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Or try and prove out a new genetic too. Like
Yeah, see
there's
that would be the only reason why people would race, is because you're trying to prove something to be genetic. Once you get to that point where it's proven, then you need to outcross as much as possible, so you wouldn't have those issues that we are known to deal with and decipher. But like I said, there's a lot of people who are in very tough situations. They discover something in their collection and they try to maximize as much as possible to get out of their financial bind. And that's, to each his own. They feel like that's their opportunity that God gave them, or whoever they believe in gave them, and they're gonna try to take it to and get the most out of it. Squeeze it for every last
yeah.
little drop.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important for you to know who you're investing in. If you're investing in that type of person, then you know that you need to invest cautiously.
Correct. Yeah. And
Work,
being transparent, of what you do and how you do certain things,
yeah,
it's important too. I think that's why taking advantage of social media in the right way is very good for not just the breeder, but the people
the hobby.
buying the
For the
hobby.
hobby.
Everybody. Yeah, because you get to see the day to day stuff, what's coming out.
Yeah, that's why I tell people when they tell me, how can you tell if a person is passionate? How can you tell if a breeder is a good breeder? I mean, that's to me, it's a very obvious question. It's a very obvious answer. But you got to look at people who are passionate about something. Somebody who's looking at a normal animal and is still so excited about hatching just an average animal, and is excited as excited as hatching, a superior animal, or something that is a goal. You look at somebody who has progressively added generations and generations to a bloodline, and has added every time has added something successfully. It's okay for you to strike out at times, but you could tell that the progression is there. Somebody's scaling up and going and improving, and is as passionate as it was when they were first introduced to the species, and are still as passionate, years later. And you have somebody who's not sacrificing quality over quantity. Somebody who isn't mass producing. Yes, you could produce 600 animals, and that might be a lot to somebody. But when you're considering 600 animals, but you're looking at over 10 different combinations. You're looking at maybe 15, 16 different type of genetics. 600 animals is not a lot, because you could have one trio, a male and a female, that could produce 40, 50 babies.
Correct.
So it's not really a big number but it's a diversified number. So you're looking at not a lot of the same animals. You're not putting 1,700 lavenders out. You're putting 50-50. You're putting some hets and some lavenders, or you're putting certain things. You're not cranking out 10,000 albinos because the Asian market, is paying X amount of money and you could profit. You're doing things at a different scale. That's how you could tell. And there's a lot of resellers in this business. There's a lot of resellers, and they're important. They're important because it gives people the opportunity to get into something that they most likely couldn't afford or whatever it is. But you also have to understand the risks involved. It's a very big
Yeah.
risk,
Yeah.
and the price. Just because you pay a certain amount of money doesn't necessarily dictate the quality. There's people who overprice animals that are not great quality. So it's your duties, your responsibility as a reptile keeper to understand what quality really is. Because if you don't have an eye for quality, then you're gonna have a tough time building a collection. You're gonna have a very tough time building a collection and scaling it to a business because you're not gonna have the type of foundation that it takes to be able to go through these ups and downs.
Yeah. And Chris, they mentioned, he said, he asked, how can you tell somebody's passionate? Because social media also too, right? You can just show the good parts of it. But I think another, knowing that somebody's passionate and it's, honesty and it's really wants the best for the animals in the community is they're going to share the goods and bads of everything.
Yeah.
Because it's not all good. Like you were saying earlier, you'll have females that pass. Like you were saying, you had slugs. Oh, no, I think we lost them. Let me see. But so yeah, so are you back? We had lost you for a few seconds.
There's a really big storm. It's
Okay.
pouring outside right now, so I think the signal
The
was a
internet's a
little
little
bit.
okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Cool. But getting to know the person, it's hard to know a passionate person or somebody just from a glance of a picture.
yeah,
You have to
yeah,
really invest your time into research where you're getting these animals from and ask around because the community is very small.
yeah.
You can
It is.
you can call a handful of people, and if maybe they don't know about that specific animal or the breeder, they'll point you to the right direction to get some information about it. And like you said,
Yeah,
doing your homework about it.
yeah, yeah. I think passion too is how you can tell somebody's passionate about something is the way that they come across. You know, People who have the patience to be able to sit there and explain something to somebody, two and three times because they don't get it, which I
Hmm.
understand genetics isn't that easy for people, or let alone certain genetics and certain combinations that might look very similar in their subtle signs of third or fourth or fifth gene. Somebody's passionate about something, they're not going to sit there and feel like they're beating a dead horse. They're going to sit there and they're going to try to explain it to you each way possible for you to understand something. They're not going to talk to you like you're a money, you're cash machine or anything like that. They're going to talk to you like you're an individual, like you're an actual person, because they put themselves in your shoes. They're looking at it from a point of view
Yeah.
where they were there when they were first starting. So you cannot talk down to somebody when you were in their shoes at one point.
Yeah.
Everybody is born with no knowledge of anything, and slowly you fill your brain with the things that you like and the things that you're
Yeah.
passionate about. And if somebody's, trying to educate themselves or learn about something, like something that you're mastering at or you're good at, you're gonna want to educate them the best possible. So that's a passionate person. And
Yeah.
success, like I was saying, success is defined differently, from person to person.
For
In
sure.
my
Yeah.
opinion, like I said, being somebody, being able to understand something, start at the very bottom and work your way up to the point where you're successfully, producing and have established, established a point where you're able to successfully breed and care for and add, generations and generations, and that tells me that that's success. You're
Yeah.
successful at that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not, that, but to be a good breeder, you don't have to just be successful at breeding. You got to be a people person. You got to be able to think like a person, be a humanitarian. You got to be a human, and
Yeah.
understand things happen and understand that people have
Yeah.
problems too, and all of
Yeah.
that is part of being a good breeder and being a passionate person.
For sure. And you know, one thing I think is, you know, they said that people say that they're passionate, right? And I think you gotta be worried about any, not even just about the reptile community and stuff like that, but anybody that talks a lot about it, or is trying to oversell it, should be a red flag.
Oh yeah, no, there's a
You
lot of
know.
red flags, dude. There's a lot of red flags. One
Hmm.
of the things that I think, one of the biggest red flags is when somebody talks about a price, only a price, or talks about, oh, this gender is better than that one, or talks about certain things. Yeah, like everybody has a different point of view when it comes to scaling. You know, some people like to go the more expensive route because that's what they prefer. That's who they are. They rather wear name brand clothes. They rather buy the more luxurious things because that's what makes them feel better, and that's how they feel they're getting the best bang for their buck. So there's gonna be people who start at the very top, and then there's gonna be people who start at the bottom and build themselves up.
Yeah.
It just depends on the type of person that
No.
you are. So understanding that, you understand. Now there's people who like to put the very minimal effort into something and try to reap the biggest benefits possible. That's a red flag. It's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
So you gotta understand who you're dealing with. You gotta understand what side of the fence are they on,
For sure.
how
No.
to deal with those people, because you're gonna come across people who are just know-it-alls, and who are not gonna sit there and take any information, and they're gonna sit there and try to educate you on something that you're dealing with, and it just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
You've seen it at shows. People come over
Yeah.
here like, oh yeah, I had that animal. Oh yeah, that person on the other table has it a lot cheaper. Oh yeah, this and that. And you're like, okay, well, what do
Okay.
you want
Yeah.
me to do?
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you
And
want?
then I think you got to make your own judgment of what that person is saying or what is doing too, not just from what other people tell you.
Yeah.
Because everybody has their own perspective too.
Another red flag too that I noticed is like people are constantly selling animals. Like there's a lot of people out there that have lists. They're like, oh, send me your list, send me your availabilities, and then boom, and they send you a list of like 1,000 animals. Like being a breeder, you understand. If you're not selling other people's animals, you're gonna run out.
Hmm.
You're gonna run out. There's no way that you're gonna have animals all year round. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be times where you're gonna have surplus from the year before, and there's gonna be things that happen, and I understand that. But you're not gonna. It's not always gonna be like that, and
100%.
it's okay
Yeah.
to help. It's okay to
Yeah.
help, but you have to be honest. Like if people come to me and they tell me, "Oh, I'm looking for this animal. I don't have it," and I know Jamie has it, or I know you have it, or I know Mitch has it, or I know somebody else has it, I'll go ahead and I'll be like, "Look, I don't have that animal, but I would refer you to somebody that I trust because I buy from them and I have a relationship. I have a rapport with. Here's this person. Go reach out to them. You know." We do it with Jenny and Armando. We do it with everybody who we trust and we know we trust, and that's a good thing. But
Yeah.
if you're the type of person that you know analyze, there's been a lot of people who have sold a lot of animals, but nobody really has a lot of success with their animals. So being a good breeder and having good bloodlines means that other people are having the same results that you have with your own bloodline, but they're having it with your animals. Their success is also positive. They're able to scale up with their animals because they're buying animals from you, and what you're selling is such good quality, or it's good quality, that you're able and they're able to scale up and breed and make babies with the babies that they once bought from you.
Yep.
So
For sure.
that's another thing that you have to realize, that success comes from many different ways. But if you're the type of person, if you're in a position where you're able to sell animals and people are making animals with the animals that they bought from you, then that's a good thing.
Yep. Yeah. And then we're talking about success and stuff like that. But what's one of the most challenging things you've had to deal with the hog noses, and then how did you overcome it?
I think that if you're the type of person that's into hognose and you have a small level of it's like dealing with hognose is like starting all over. Hognose are a very unique species. You have a lot of experience with other species or other animals. Like you could be dealing with birds, you could be dealing with fish, you could be dealing with everything, because I've done a lot. I've done birds, I've done all that stuff. they're very Hognose is very unique, not only in the genetics but in the form of keeping, the husbandry. Everything is very unique to them. So there, it comes with their own set of challenges. One of the things that I find challenging is brood mating. Brood mating was a big part that, you know, kind of scared me a little bit to scale on a large level. Um, once you brewmate once, you kind of have it, you know, you have a pretty good idea of how it goes. You're not as antsy about it anymore. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I could do it. I could definitely do it as long as I'm able to invest in the right, you know, in the right things. Like, you know, you need a good you need a good fridge. You need a good thing. Once you have that, you're able to. You're. It's not that hard for you to be able to roommate. Once you get
Yeah.
down packed, you're fine. Another challenging part is incubating eggs. A lot of people incubate eggs way too wet and not enough ventilation, or however. There's many ways to skin a cat, but hognose eggs are very sensitive to water. And there's, you know, temperature wise, it's not that sensitive to temperature. You know that you could incubate them from 77 all the way up to 84. Personally, we like to stay in the middle at 80 degrees, but you can definitely incubate them at a wide range of temperatures. But
Mhm.
the humidity is the issue. You can keep them, if you're going to keep them at a very wet substrate, you got to make sure that there's a lot of ventilation so that they don't suck all the moisture from the thing. Because if they suck up too much moisture, they're going to die. And if there's, you know, wet substrate and not enough ventilation, you're gonna end up having problems with condensation, and then water starts to collect at the top of the Tupperware, and then the water droplets can fall on the egg, and if you get too much water on the egg on the shell, it molds out. They die. So those were little things that I had to work around, and
Okay.
having a good support system. That's why I like to pay it forward, because, you know, Jamie was one of the ones that told me. I was about ready to quit, and we have a mutual friend, Ariel, and I told Ariel, I'm like, bro, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and looking back, I did a lot of things wrong, because I was getting information from people who were winging it. So I was by default a winger at that point. And then I said, look, bro, you got your friend, bro, Jamie, bro. Put in a good word for me, man. I need to have a conversation with him because I'm about to quit. And you know, Ariel's a good friend of mine. Ariel knows that I'm not a winger. So Ariel's like, look, bro, I'll talk to him. And then he talked to Jamie, and then Jamie told me, like, look, bro, this is this is what I do. This is what I do, and I'm in Florida. Unfortunately, we don't get away with a lot of things that other people do in other states. But in Florida, this is what has worked for me, and I adapted it, and I made a little bit of changes according to my area, not my area, but according to the way that I do things here and what I had available. I made the changes, and that was the baseline for me, man. And if it wasn't for Jamie helping me out with certain things, I wouldn't have been able to scale it to where I'm at now.
100%. Yeah.
So that's really,
So
that's why it's
you,
important to have friends. Like, we know what we work off of each other. We tell each other,
yeah.
look, bro, I did this last year. This happened. What you're dealing with, I dealt with, and this is what I did to get through it. So maybe it'll work for you. It's worth a shot. And then that's how
Yeah.
you start to, you know, help each other out.
So you mentioned brumation and stuff like that. What's, because you know this is a very common asked question: temperature for brumation and time frame.
Yeah. Well, this was your first year brew mating too, so you're like you're a little scared, like I was at first. And I told you, man, it's no sweat. Don't worry, just do
Yeah.
this, and you did it. You know,
Yeah.
Uh, personally for me, this is the fourth or fifth year that I brewmate. Yeah, fifth year that I brewmate. And when I brewmate, from then till now, Jamie always told me make sure they're empty, put them in the fridge. I always put them at the fridge at 55 degrees. I make sure that the fridge is at 55 degrees. And I used the bigger fridges because I had a lot of snakes at that point. So I was using a 12 cubic foot fridge. You know that when you're putting snakes into the fridge, the substrate, everything is already a little bit warmer
Hmm.
than the fridge. So it takes the fridge about a day or two to calibrate. So even if you keep it at 55 degrees, it still takes a couple of days for it to adjust to the temperature.
Yeah.
So that causes a little bit of condensation on the bins. It causes couple little things that will worry somebody at first, but I put them straight into 55 degrees, and it's always dark. and you know that's what we did, and it works. It works.
Yeah.
You know that because you already have one brumation season under your belt, and look at
Yeah.
the results that you're getting. You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have
And then I brumated everything. You know, even like my animals that were under a year old, I brumated
yeah,
everything this year.
exactly. I don't have the leisure to do that. I wasn't able to do that, but
Hmm.
I plan on doing it. I'm planning on doing it this year. I'm already looking at uh I'm looking at what do you call those? Not another mini split, but the
Like
portable.
a portable.
I'm
Okay.
looking for a portable AC so I can put a portable AC so that it doesn't have to rely on just a one mini split. But I'm
Hmm.
gonna put two, and then I'm gonna bring my whole room down to 50 degrees. Keep them in
Okay.
their bins like we did, and bring them down to 50.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because there's people, people up north just unplug the heat and let the winter run its course. All right.
yeah, but remember that one of the problems that we have in Florida is drying out our snakes too much.
Hmm.
Even when you put them in the fridge, if you don't put on damp substrate, it dries them out. I
Yep.
remember before I started doing the damp substrate, it got my snakes. My snakes were fine. They were in 50-degree weather. It was perfect. The temperature was 50 degrees. They were fine. When they would come out, they were crispy because they were dry. And then that now it sets you back a little bit because now it takes about a week or two for them to start drinking water. And then you try to feed them, they're dehydrated a little bit, so they're not even going to eat. So it takes a little bit for you to get them back to where they were. So it's a gift and a curse. It's a gift because it helps you reset them, but it's a curse if you don't do it right, and it could cause problems.
No problems. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
something, just a learning curve. You know,
Yeah.
you learn
Yeah.
to deal with it.
And like you said, like even to where the point you're at now, you're still adjusting the things you do and learning new ways to better your husbandry.
Improving is important, man. That's a
Hmm.
big part of it, bro. It's a big part of it. Efficiently, being able to do something efficiently, but doing something correctly, and improving it if you can is crucial. That's how we
Yep.
progress. And that's
Yeah.
why I share whatever my experiences are, whether it's good or bad. 2 years ago, I froze everything in my all my eggs at the very peak of my breeding season. Over
Yeah.
300 eggs froze. And that would have been the year that I produced coral supercondas, lavender supercondas, coral condas. That was the year that I was producing lavender sable condas, lavender sable supercondas, lavender sables. It was a year that I was producing a lot of crazy stuff. And I froze, and all those eggs were gone. They dropped down to 25 degrees.
Yeah.
They were
I
gone.
mean, and then a lot of people would probably have been like, "All right, that's it," like would have walked away and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What kept you from just saying,
Passion. Passion.
passion? Yeah.
Passion. Knowing that it was my fault. It wasn't no fault of anybody but mine. I bypassed something that was very important, and that's the results. So I'm like, okay, did I lose a lot of money? Yeah, I did. Did I lose a lot of time? Yeah, I did. But I did. I did. I didn't lose it because of somebody else. I lost it because I did it. So is it something that I could fix? Yeah, of course. And then the next year, which was last year, we did great.
Do it. Yeah. Yeah,
We
for
did
sure.
phenomenal. It wasn't an issue that we had. We did great. We did fine. We had a couple of egg bounded females which we fixed. We did, but that's just normal. It comes with the territory. We didn't have a lot of losses. We didn't have a lot of stuff. We did great. We did perfect. We were able to produce enough to be able to keep and
Yeah.
sell. We progressed. We did the same thing.
Yeah, and and I think that set you up to the point where you said, "I'm gonna take the leap of faith and do it 100%." Right?
Yeah.
Um. So.
hmm But if I would have quit my job that year, I would be in a completely different position right now because I wouldn't have been. That wouldn't have happened. What happened wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. And that's something that I'm like, I cannot allow this. I can't allow this to happen again. And that's one of the reasons why I said forget it. I'm gonna take time out. I'm gonna just go ahead,
Yeah.
feed the passion. For the first time in my life, I put all my eggs in one basket and I just went full force with it.
Yeah.
And that's it works out.
Yeah. Blue Tongue Republic has a good point. And we talked about this year when we were pulling our animals out, where like none of them, a lot of them didn't lose weight or even gained a couple grams over the whole brumation time frame.
Yeah, exactly like he says, exactly like that. I
Mm-hmm.
had females that were going in at 200 grams. It came out at 210, 215.
Hmm.
And that would never happen before when I was putting them straight on straight aspen. Never. I had never had them
No.
do that. They always came back 10, 15 grams, 20 grams lighter because they lost the water weight because the fridge pulls the moisture from the air. So now our snakes weren't getting the moisture wasn't getting pulled out from the snakes. The moisture was getting pulled out from the substrate, and the snakes were sitting in substrate, so they were being able to
Absorbing. Yeah.
absorb some. And when the snakes came out of brumation this year, they were they were on it. They all fed right away. They all looked great. Everything was fine. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
perfect.
I remember you mentioned it. You said, "Man, the feeding success is like no other year before." He goes, I'm offering and everybody's eating."
Yeah, everybody was
Yeah.
taking.
Yeah.
Nobody was nobody was like stressed or nobody was dry or dehydrated. Everybody was on
Mm.
point.
Yeah.
So that made me happy. I was like, okay, well, there you go. We figured that part of it now. Every year you figure something out, and every year you know what to do better next year. And that's one of the things that I'm telling you. Every breeder who's passionate about something cannot wait, even though they're in the middle of the or the peak of the breeding season, like we're in the peak of 2023. I'm already picturing what I'm gonna do better for 2024. I'm already picturing what I got in store for
Yeah.
2024. I haven't even finished. I haven't even hatched one animal in 2023, and I'm already picturing what I
Yeah.
could do better for 2024.
No. Yeah, we have those conversations on a weekly basis. Like, man,
Yeah,
what are we gonna do this? What are we gonna pair? What are we gonna change with our husbandry or even just the layout of your room,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. You know that now we're fully insulated. Before we had the two adjacent walls that weren't insulated,
Hmm.
and I would have that problem where I was like, what? Why is this? Why is there so much inconsistencies? And I'm like, I overshot the AC, the mini split. It's double the capacity that I would need for this room because we intended to be able to bring the whole room to down to 50 degrees, and it was because of the installation. So now we fixed that problem, and then we keep continue to make it to where that we're in complete control.
Yeah.
Everything's on, all the lights are on a timer. We have 3 fans in here that are circulating. We have LED lights. We have hides, moist hides on all the snakes all year round. They have water dishes that get switched every week. Actually, every 5 days, not even every week. It's every 5 days. We have minerals that go inside the water. We have everything, like everything that you could think of. We tried to put it in and instill it into our daily routine so that we could better our odds. Sometimes we overdo things, but it is what it is. We learn from it.
Yeah.
The
And
good
then
thing
I
about
think
breeding,
it's go
the
ahead.
good thing about breeding and doing the things that we do is that there's always going to be a next year. If you're passionate about what you do, there's always a next year. You might lose this year, you might have a crap year, but there's always a next year.
Yep. No. And then I think you got to take all this information that you hear and you read and also tweak it to your exact setup, your temperature, your location, your room,
Yeah,
because you have your setup in your garage. I have my setup in my house in a spare bedroom in the house, and people have it a whole separate facility detached from their home.
yeah,
So it's hard to say these are exact temperatures, exact setups to do. You always gotta be, I say, in tune with your animal and really see what they're doing
yeah,
and tweak it here and there. You know.
yeah. No, that's a fact. That's a fact. I don't use belly heat. I don't use heat at all. I have ambient temperature, 81
Mhm.
degrees. You have to use belly heat. Your ambient temperature in your room is 75 degrees. You have to get your belly heat at 87, 88 to be able to, counteract. There's different ways. And
Yep.
now, me doing what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, it's easier for me to control it the way I can because I'm in the garage. You cannot put a mini split and close the AC vent in your room because that's a main structure of your home.
Yeah.
So you
Yep.
gotta you gotta do with the conditions and with the style of setup that you have. You gotta make the best of it. Of
Yeah.
course, now you're thinking about expanding and going into your garage, which is
Yeah.
a great
Yeah.
idea, but you have the ability to do that. Not everybody has the ability to do that. I remember when I first started doing this, man, when I had a 1 bedroom apartment, my living room was full of geckos. I had 300 geckos in my living room, from
Yeah.
crescents to gargoyles to leopard geckos. I always lived in a 2 bedroom apartment or a 1 bedroom apartment. My living room was always animals. My house was always animals. Because that's my passion. That's what I did. Whoever came into
Hmm.
my life knew that that's what I was into.
That was, yeah, that was, yeah.
Fishing and reptiles. And I've been like that since I was a kid. Since I was a kid, you either saw me with a snake in my hand or you saw me with a fishing rod. So there was no need to ask me, what are you doing? Because you already knew what I was doing.
Yep. Yeah.
I got
So,
friends. I got friends from day school, bro. That follow me on Instagram and Facebook and everything, and they always post pictures like, "Yo, look at this picture I found of you." And it was like that. The pictures always had something. The pictures always had me with a snake, or when I would go fishing, or we'll go catch gators, or we'll go. It was that's just what it was. That's how we grew up. That was our
yeah.
pastime. Our pastime was going out and doing stuff like that.
So, what do you would say you do different in your husbandry from mostly other people? Do you have any
I
one
think
thing maybe?
I think that I don't rely solely on feeders, and that's been something that I've done my whole life. When I was breeding, when I was breeding panther chameleons and I was breeding geckos, I would always get my adult crickets, and I would always hatch out my baby crickets, my own pinheads. So I always thought about being efficient. How can I be efficient?
Hmm.
And I think that buying good feeders, I can't produce my own feeders. If I were able to, then I wouldn't be buying. But I always try to outsource or source the best feeders that I can. Supplement. Supplementing is important. A lot of people don't think supplementing is important because they get everything that they get from the food. But the food, if you're not buying from somebody who has good rodents, is feeding a good food, then you're
Yeah.
not gonna get it. You are what you eat. And
Yep.
then it's the same thing. Gut load in the other world is gut loading. In the world with
Hmm.
insects, you gut load. In the snakes, you don't really gut load. You supplement. So I think, you know, I think being less invasive with medicine and all that is important. But I kind of go and I give better back plus, which is probiotics. If I see an animal is having some of a little bit of an issue, I'll give probiotics or acidophilus. Acidophilus is great for animals that have regurgitation issues. Like there's a lot of little different things that I think outside of the box, and I think that's what makes me a little different. That I think outside the box, and I always try to think like an animal more than like a breeder, and I always put what they would think or what they would want first, and that's kind of the deciding factor in some cases with things that you're doing. You've seen it here,
Yep. I
but,
definitely seen it firsthand, for sure,
but the
man.
way that it is always trying to learn. If I have an issue, I become engulfed in the issue so that I know that I need to figure it out so that it doesn't become a ongoing issue.
Yeah.
And then
And what's one thing that you know that I see that you're willing to learn and evolve is like, I mean, you even ask me certain things. You have certain things that are coming up. What do you think about this, right? Because different, you can learn something every day. You can learn different opinions, different point of views from different people. They don't have to be a scientist, a lawyer. Different people have different point of views and different experiences in life that can maybe you can't see it because of your experience in life, but they're already seeing a different point of view. Yeah.
but listen, just because somebody has been breeding something for 10 years doesn't make them a professional. There could be somebody who's been breeding an animal for 10 years, 15 years, and then somebody comes that has more passion, has a more detailed work life, is a much more uh is a much more goal oriented individual, and in 5 years could surpass somebody who's been doing it for 10, 15 years, who gain more experience and have a better understanding of an animal because of the way their approach, the willingness to learn, the willingness to adapt, the willingness to progress. So unfortunately, this is a very common scenario with our industry. Sometimes the old timers don't want to try new things because they feel like if it isn't broken, don't fix it. But they're
Yeah.
basing it off of old ratios. They think that breeding 50 females and you get 40 to go, or you get 30 to go, that's a great ratio. But then you have people who feel like if I breed 50, I should get 50 to go. Something's wrong. And then you get people who push themselves to educate themselves to the point where they could predict something from happening, If you're that type of person, then you're gonna gain experience a lot quicker, or you're gonna gain a little bit more understanding, kind of have a little upper hand in certain things. So it depends on the type of person that you are. So if I've been doing this for, let's say, 10 years, and there's somebody who's very passionate about it, and they've been in it for 2 years or 3 years, there's things that they have learned because they're fresh that I might have overlooked, and vice versa. So if you put two people together and they have a conversation, of course, my experience might trump you in certain things, but then there's things that you're going to bring to the table that I might be able to incorporate, and together we might come up with a master plan that would help us in the long run. So
For
there's no
sure.
reason to, shut somebody out because, oh, I've been here for 10 years. There's nothing you can teach me.
Yeah.
No, that's a very dumb approach to life
Yeah.
in
And
general.
I think competition, healthy competition, is important
Yeah.
because it will push you to get yourself out of your comfort zone, get yourself to develop better ways to take care of your animals and produce better animals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, you get comfortable, it's a death sentence. You get too
Oh, yeah.
comfortable, it's a death sentence. You start. Yep.
Yeah. That's what happens to people. That's what we were talking about before. You develop a comfort zone, and then that's the killer of all progress. Comfort zone. You're in your comfort zone. You don't want to push yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So where do you see, you know, and I mentioned this a couple times this year. This is your first full year doing this. Um, you're we're already almost, yeah, about halfway through the year. Where do you
Yeah.
see yourself, in 5 years? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. I've definitely thought about that. In 5 years, I think working with just this species, I think 5 years there's still I think we haven't even touched the surface of the potential that hognoses have. I honestly don't feel like we've scraped the surface yet. Maybe there's probably what 20 genes in general right now, and people always compare everything to ball pythons. I think ball
Yep.
pythons have probably 50, 60 genes at best. I'm not a ball python person, but I would think that main genes is probably like 50 different genes, and people say that ball pythons are a dead end, but there's still new stuff being discovered, and there's still new traits being added, and there's still worlds first popping out. So I honestly don't feel like there's a definitive, end to any of these species. It just how much passion do you have, and how where do you see yourself is kind of like a hard question to answer when you're so passionate about something, and you know that there's room. There's always going to be room as long as you're there, and you're willing to take it there, then you're gonna be able to go as far as you're willing to go. I remember breeding leopard geckos, back in 96, 97, and the hardest thing to produce was just on albino. And then you had people who thought outside the box and started to produce patternless albino and started to produce a whole bunch of stuff, and now they're still going. Now we're to 20 years later,
Yeah,
25 years later, and they're still going, and there's still people that are as passionate as they were in the beginning and now. So where do I see myself? I see myself still working with Hognos, of course, and expanding into other stuff. Like I said, I wanted to expand and just have a little bit of the stuff that makes me happy. Now it's not just breeding because I'm doing it full time. Now I'm actually able to say, okay, well, I'm gonna focus on the things that make me happy. Like dealing with the chameleons, dealing with certain things. So I would hope to see myself in 5 years with a sizable collection where I would have the things that I want efficiently, being able to produce and breed and expand. The way that I like, to do things.
for sure.
Yeah, John Rice.
Yeah.
John Rice.
Uh, no, that's very important because and like you said, that's a good point of view. Like not being 100% knowing where you're gonna be in 5 years because so much can change and so much can develop within just the hog nose because it's so yeah people have been breeding some hog noses, some people have been breeding for 10 plus years or more, but we're still such in the early stages where we don't know how far it can get genetic wise, husbandry wise, and then just in general, the reptile community. There's not enough studies done where we're learning every day new things on how to take care of these animals or just
Yeah,
general about the animal.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everything. You learn what not to do before you learn what to do. And I feel
Hmm.
like, Hognos are no different. We like them because they're such dramatic. They're such a dramatic, little snake, and there's so many cool features that come along with the Hognos that it just
Yeah.
you get enchanted from the moment you see them. You're like, whoa, you're drawn to it,
Yep.
and I feel like there's a lot of people who get into it with very little experience, but if they have a mentor and they have somebody who they could look up to that's honest and isn't trying to get into their bank account and deplete their savings just to get ahead in life, because we put people's feelings first, and we put ourselves in other people's shoes before we do anything else. I feel like, if everybody were to think that way, that we would be in 5 years, we would be in a much better place. And
100%.
FWC, all these people wouldn't stand a chance because there's so much passion. But because of the division that we have as people and the competition that people create because they're trying to be the best and trying to make the most money and doing all of that, that is what causes the division, and that's what's
Yeah.
causing issues. But personally, I've I've seen a lot of people come and a lot of people go. And I think that the most common scenario, or the most common, you know, feature amongst those people who come and go fast is usually because they're in it for the money. So we're gonna see, we're gonna see a lot of people come and go in the next 5 years, and
Oh, for
Hognos are still gonna be there, and the popularity is still gonna be there. Popularity is only gonna gain, and the
yeah.
more we figure them out, and the easier that husbandry, the easier we can make husbandry appear, and the more that we're willing to work with people, the wider our network is going to get with Hognos, and the more people we're going to be able to teach, and more people we're going to be able to get into the hobby, and that's how we're going to grow. And the more
Yeah.
new people that grow, and the more people that are going to be at the FWC meetings, and the more people that are going to be willing to become positive advocates of just reptiles in general.
100%, man. That's
like
a
like
yeah.
like Noel says right there, like, oh, I have learned a lot from you, Eslin, and I could tell she's appreciative of what she's learned, and watching you be in your first season and documenting everything and documenting how you're doing and the progress and everything. It gives people it gives people a second win. It motivates people to be like, well, I could probably do it. And like Noel and you, that I've helped you. There's countless amount of people that are
Hmm.
producing eggs for the first time this year, and are hatching out babies for the first time this year and last year and the year before and everything. And that's what I enjoy. I enjoy being able to take somebody that has been wanting to do something for so many years and giving them the ability to, like training wheels, just being there every step of the way. Look, this is what you're gonna do next. Okay, when you get to this point, let me know. Okay, boom, and they go, and you build
Yeah.
confidence in yourself to the point where you take the training wheels off, and
Yeah.
there you go. You're on the.
And I think everybody should, if you're breeding and you're passionate and you really want to do this, everybody should aspire to help somebody that's getting into it, that wants more information, right?
Mhm.
Um, because keeping the information to yourself and guard it doesn't get anywhere. Doesn't get you
No,
anywhere.
no, that
You
is the
know.
that is the biggest misconception in this industry. The biggest misconception in this industry is that you're gonna have good information and you're gonna keep it to yourself. That's the worst thing that you could do. The worst thing that you could do is that. And like John says, we the only way that we're gonna grow is thinking outside the box.
Very
And
true.
being selfish with the information that you get is only going to allow you to produce, but then the people who buy from you and don't have the same results are not going to be able to invest anymore. They're not going to be able to grow in themselves, and they're not be able to. There's nothing that you could do. There's nothing that you're going to be able to do better than being able to help people build themselves to the point that they want to be, and they're going to flourish, and they're going to be able to take it to places that you wouldn't even be able to accomplish or take on your own. So
Yep.
lifting other people is probably one of the biggest things that we could do in this industry, and help people get to where they want to go.
Yeah. Because you know what? There's no, in any kind of community industry, there's no one that's successful or is doing it right without a team behind them. That self-made millionaire is one of the worst sayings ever because there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. You know,
True.
you
I
always
think
need a team.
I stand on the fact that together we can definitely take this to a point where, and I've seen it too, and you've seen it too, you've seen it
Hmm.
yourself. You've seen it yourself. Repticon plays a big role in what we do because, yeah, sometimes you go to Repticon, but you don't make a lot of money. Sometimes you break even. Doesn't matter how good animals you have, you break even. Sometimes you make, good money, you clear thousands or whatever. But the biggest role that Repticon plays is being able to bring new faces, and
Yeah.
they show it. What that does is that demonstrates to people that have no experience, that have never been in a reptile show, see the diversity, see the passion behind people. And if you're doing it the correct way, you're doing it the right way, then you're gonna understand. People are gonna understand what it feels like, what it is for us. It's not. We have animals, we have dogs, we have everything.
Hmm.
But people, the common person, doesn't understand that you could feel the same way for a dog that you could for a snake, or that you could feel the same way for a dog that you could for, a bird or anything like that. And they think that it's not something that it's not something that people would understand by just watching, a YouTube video or anything. But once they're there and they're seeing how happy a little kid is with a $15 leopard gecko, and they're looking around and seeing that this kid has a $25, corn snake, and it's something that he's been wanting for the rest of his whole life. And that's the type of passion that you have to continuously feed in somebody. And
100%.
it comes through many different avenues.
Yeah.
Being able to continue to produce and provide that for people is important, man. It's very important. And we're in a very we're in a very unique situation right now in Florida. But I think that a lot of the things that we're dealing with FWC is our own fault. It's our own fault because of all the pictures that people post with all these invasives and all this stuff that's going on. People are so quick to take it to social media that we're giving them the ammunition that they need.
Yeah.
We're giving
People, I think we live in a moment where people are willing to risk, their livelihoods, their, other people's livelihoods and just well-being for those 15 minutes of 15 seconds, not even 15 minutes. Before it used to be, right, your 15 minutes of fame.
yeah,
Now with social media, it's 15 seconds of fame,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it sucks because I don't wish bad on nobody, especially on a community that I feel so passionate about, something that I've
Hmm.
invested in so many years of my life and so much money and so much everything. And I would like my son to follow my shoes in the sense of being able to feed his passion. I'm lucky that he likes the things that I like and everything.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that we could be doing different as a community if we really want to take that role.
Yeah.
It's not only
Yeah.
donating to USARC. It's not only doing that. It's about being a little bit more reserved and starting to take
Yeah.
understand the fact that it isn't about instant gratification. Like, yeah, you're gonna get 600 Facebook likes, but that's 600 opportunities for that to get shared. That's 600 opportunities for you to dig our community deeper and deeper in the hole that we're trying to get out of.
Hmm.
And like that, there's a lot of other things that could be done. There's a lot of things that could be done that would overturn that perspective, that idea of the community.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
and this what we're doing today and social media and stuff like that, it's important, right? Um, there's certain people that, and I understand different people have different privacies and stuff like that. Like they don't want to go onto a podcast or they don't want to put their face out in front. But I think if you're working with these animals, it is your duty to do that, to be
yeah,
educate, to get your face out there and stuff like that. Because I mean, look at YouTube. I'll tell you this: if I put words on a YouTube thumbnail, it might get 50 views. If I put myself or my wife holding a snake on a YouTube thumbnails, instantly gets hundreds of views.
hmm
People want to see relate to other people.
yeah,
They just don't want to see animals. Like, yeah, they're in there initially for the animal, but they want to relate to you and see,
yeah.
why you're doing it.
Of course, of
You
course.
know,
See, that's one of the things about you know this because we talk about it a lot. But one of the things that people ask me is like, oh, how am I gonna sell these babies? I'm gonna produce, but how? You need to build a presence. You need to build a presence, and not a presence, a fictitious presence like a lot of the YouTubers and all that. No, I'm talking about on honest presence. People need to know who they're buying from. People need to know who you are. People need to know that. And there's a lot of people who are afraid of putting themselves out there. So I understand that, but
Yeah.
being able to communicate with other individuals and like-minded people is crucial for this industry. It's crucial for the community. So being able to have somebody that they can come to and ask, or you being able to say, oh my god, this year was horrible, or that this year was great, and look what we're going. And people need that. There's a lot of people who are going through tough times in their lives and everything, and they want to be able to relate with somebody. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a person on a personal level. You could strictly keep it on an animal basis, but you giving people the 10 minutes that they need in order for them to, you know get away from their
Yeah.
daily struggles, and they're getting away from their problems, and they're being able to bring themselves back to a level-headed, level-headed or level-minded, and then they're gonna be able to deal with their problems best, and they're gonna be able to correlate you and understand who you are, and understand what you strive for, and who you really are. And they're gonna be able to invest in not just your animals, but they're investing in a person. They're investing in you. They're investing in your brand, and that's important. And people think, oh, because I have nice animals, and I'm gonna be able to sell animals. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way
Very
entirely.
true. Very
It
true.
doesn't work that way, and we're becoming a lot more. We're becoming more educated on certain things, and that's great. But being sociable, being approachable, being a person who can have a conversation with somebody is very important. And we know people who don't have that, and are great breeders and have great animals and have all of that, but they're missing things. And that's why it's important to have friends that are able to help you figure things out and get you past the point. Because it's very easy, bro. It's super easy to get in a rut, but you need people to help you wake up and push you past that rut,
Very true.
get you back to your forward momentum. And the hobby right now is kind of like, it's still moving, but it's moving very slowly, because everybody's watching what's happening with FWC. Everybody's watching with everything. U.S. Search all over the place trying to help us,
Yeah.
get to a better, a more positive place. And if it's not Florida, it's Illinois. If it's not Illinois, it's South Carolina. If it's not South Carolina, it's North Carolina. There's always somebody trying to ban something. But we stand together, it's gonna be very difficult, and we're gonna always try to overturn or overrule and do whatever it is that we can. But being able to sell animals, you need to be able to have that. You need to be able to sell your product without having to sell your product, because people are gonna know that you're a good person, and that you're approachable, and that you're the type of person that's gonna be able to help people and do that. That is important, man. It's very important. Very, very,
Nope.
very, very, very important.
It is, man. It is. You know, I think this is a good. We're getting we're over 2 hours, so a good closing point and stuff like that. But I mean, we still have a good amount of people watching. I wanted to, for the people that stuck around, stuff like that. We'll see if you can show us one of the snakes you're most proud of producing and stuff like that.
All right, one of the snakes I'm most proud of producing. I'll bring out two snakes that I'm proud of. Hold on one second.
Guys, like I said, everyone that's here watching, thanks for sticking through the whole thing.
So this is a pink
Lift
amethyst.
it up a little more. There we
Yeah.
go.
This is a pink amethyst. So this is the lavender caramel anaconda, and I'm really proud of this one. She has really nice eyes,
Hmm.
a really nice pattern. You can see the anaconda pattern. She just ate too, so she has a nice one. But see the belly? It's pretty cool. That's what the lavender does, and the caramel. So the caramel Has a very white belly because it bleeds through from the sides and then it connects in the middle.
Mm.
And I'm very proud of this female. Hopefully, we can make more. The goal was a lavender frosted, but we didn't hit on the hypo on this one, so she's just a lavender caramel and very nice eyes, nice tongue, nice purple tongue, and hopefully she'll be breeding in a year and a half. Let me show you another one now, and then this one right here. And then these are the super Arctic frosteds and the super Arctic frosted conda. So
So these are the world first
yeah,
that you
this,
produced last year.
yeah, this is the graphite right here. This is the graphite. See the bellies, very unique. And then this is the blue steel. Same thing. Same thing. And then this is the blue steel. They have very dark purple bellies, and they're cool. See the head stamp on these guys. You can see the head stamp on these guys.
It's almost full white head. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really cool.
very unique. And then this one being the conda, it's very reduced too. So it's
Yeah.
cool. It's a cool, very cool combination. Very cool combination. Those are animals that we worked on. The Lavender Frost project. The Lavender Frost project is something that we've been working on for 5 years now. Same thing with the Super Arctic Frosted. It's been about 4 years for that one. Uh, yeah, we've been working on a lot of that stuff, man. The lavender gene is something that we took on. It's a very tricky gene. Not a lot of people had success with it because in the very beginning it was so inbred that people were having issues, and then they thought like you could breed albino to albino and azantid to azantid, that they were gonna breed lavender to lavender, and unfortunately it was not proven to be the case. They had a lot of
Yeah.
issues with you know a lot of kinks and missing eyeballs and cleft lips and a lot of issues, genetic issues when they were breeding lavender to lavender. So that's when we started to breed lavender to het or to normal, and then we started making more het lavenders, breeding het to het to strengthen the lines and outcross as much as we did. And now for us, we've been pretty fortunate. But if you could see all our pairings, we never pair lavender to lavender. Even though our lines are strong and everything, we don't breed lavender to lavender. Same thing, we don't bring coral to coral, and we've been producing coral for a couple of years now. We don't breed coral to coral. We don't do that. Like, I'll show you now what a coral super panda. There's only a few in the world. There's only a few of these in the world. We hatched 4 of them. So this is a very nice and pink snake, and you can see their head stamps too. It's a very pink snake,
Hmm.
and that's lavender, albino, and super conda. And
Yeah.
and this is a male.
The eyes are almost, they're so
Yeah,
red and translucent. They're
on the
almost like
corals.
see through.
On the
Yeah.
corals, they're very bright, very very bright. And that's one of the coolest. That's one of the another cool animal that we produced last year.
Yeah. One of the animals that I was very impressed seeing when we first walked in, and it was because my daughter, Leilani loves the lavenders. So you showed her your a lavender superconda.
Yeah, yeah. I'll show you
And
one now. I'll put one out. Hold on.
yeah, and that thing was, they're impressive, on the quality of lavenders that Eslin has.
So this little girl just ate. But lavender supercanas, we've been producing them for like 3 years now, and they're awesome. They were. We should have had them. We should have had them a lot sooner, but unfortunately that year we had that malfunction in the incubator. But
Hmm.
these guys are
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, the body structure, the head, the eyes, the
Yeah,
color, it's
they're
it's
very
all
robust.
on point.
Yeah, they're very robust. If you do it right, if you breed them right, they're very robust and they're very nice animals. And imagine adding Arctic or uh, the caramel gene to this. Like there's
Hmm.
so much stuff that we're gonna try to incorporate it into. But breeding it right, making sure that you outcross and you breed it right is more important to us than everything else. So that's why it's taken us a little longer than most people because we didn't rush. We did it the right way, in my opinion, the right way. So that's why it took us a little longer. But I rather I rather be late to the party, but get there when in due
Yeah.
time than try to rush and produce frail and weak animals that are gonna die on people. We
Yeah.
don't have
You know,
we
like you
haven't
said,
had that issue.
it's okay to produce heads and possible heads, you know, to
Yeah,
outcross animals and to build the line stronger. You know,
yeah,
um,
yeah, definitely, man.
it's needed.
That's the goal. The goal is has always been quality over quantity. That's our slogan: quality over quantity. You know that.
For sure, man. For sure.
Quality in, quality out, and that's what it's always been. So I don't steer away from that. I don't let a world's first or the money that comes with producing world's first, and I don't let that blind me. It doesn't detour me.
Yeah.
I stick to my roots. I stay true to who I am, and just let the chips fall where they may. That's why I haven't produced as many world's firsts as some of the other people, because I really don't rush to it. It's like,
Yeah. And you know what? Honestly, you produce world first, and if you're producing them because you want to see it and you want to work with those genes, you're not letting go of the animal. You're keeping it back.
oh yeah,
You
there's a
know,
lot of
so like,
animals that are not for sale, dude. I turned down a
yeah,
lot of offers. You know
yeah,
that. I turned down a lot
hmm,
of offers on animals, and I don't sell an animal unless I know it's gonna go to a good place where I know that it's okay. I don't it's not something that I need to hold back right now. But my
no,
goals are always first and foremost. You know that.
hmm,
That's why I kept so many animals last year. Is I kept so many. I'm like, I don't know what direction I want to go, but I don't want to sell anything that I'm gonna regret selling right now. So I need to do it this way. And then now I know, okay, well, this is the direction I'm going. So I'm gonna have to. I have some animals to let go because I have a little more than I need. So that's why I was
yeah,
saying what I was saying earlier. But yeah, definitely, it's difficult. It's difficult to be able to stay grounded and sane because you always you wanna produce and you wanna do this and you wanna do that, but you got to. You gotta push yourself to stay on point.
hundred
You
percent.
got you have to.
Yeah, man.
And
So
like, and
we're
like John,
gonna go
see
ahead.
John, see John Rice, he's
Yeah.
producing a lot of world's first, but he did it the right way too. But he's also been behind the scenes for all of like what 9, 10 years now. So I mean he's not a newcomer. He's been in it for a long time. He invested a lot of money to get to the genes that he needed, the foundation, and then
Hmm.
worked his way up. And that's what it
Yeah.
takes. It takes a lot of money and passion to be able to get to where he's at now. But it
Hmm.
doesn't come without sacrifice.
Yep.
Working a second
No. Yeah.
job and doing this and doing that, and being able to sacrifice, spending time with your children sometimes because you gotta go and everybody's gonna go relax and watch TV, but you got 150 animals to breed to feed, and
Yeah.
you got 25 cages to clean because you need to set up. It comes with it.
Yeah. Or you know, your family going on vacation, you have to stay back because you got to
Yeah,
take care of your animals and stuff like
yeah, yeah.
that.
My wife and kid have gone to New York in the last year. Have gone to New York 3 times without me, and
Yeah.
I've stayed here. And I've
Very
stayed
true.
here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Sometimes we just want to look at them and hold them and hold back
Yeah.
what we need.
Yeah.
It
And
is.
then you know, with John definitely built his infrastructure, his setup, and stuff like that over the years. And I know he's done a lot of work last year too to his whole
Yeah.
setup and
Hmm.
his you know his
Yeah.
buildings and stuff like that. So he's definitely he's doing it the right way.
And now he's full time. Now he's full time too.
There
Now
you
he's
go.
full time. Now he knows what it's like. Now he knows what it's
Yeah.
like. Now he's and it comes. It comes when it's supposed to. You know when you're ready. You know when you're ready. When you're most nervous about it is when it's time.
Yep.
You've taken too much time to decide.
Yeah.
You know when you're ready. And I'm
Yep.
happy. I'm happy for John. I'm happy. I'm happy he did it because now he's able to really take it to the level that he knows he could be at. And
Yeah. I've already seen the
why he's
pictures of
going
them
full force.
hatching.
Yeah, that's why he's going full force.
Yeah.
That's why
Sure.
he put on his big boy cap and he's like, let's go. Full force ahead. Let's do this. Well, I'm happy for him though. And
Yeah.
that's the type of people that we need. Those are the type of people that we need, being able to show people that they can do it. being
Yep.
able to motivate people. If I could do it, you could do it. It's gonna take a lot, but you could do it because I did it.
Yeah, it's got to put in the time and the work. That's really it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have John on the podcast. We just got to cement a date. We've already been talking back and forth. So you
Good.
guys know who John Rice is. Definitely keep in touch and see what when he's gonna come on the podcast, because it's gonna be another good one. They're hatching some really good stuff over there too this year already.
Yeah. And show me kitties too. She has a nice
Yeah,
collection. She's been collecting.
she
Like there's
has.
a lot of people that I'm excited for. I'm excited to see where they're gonna go. This has been a an important year for a lot of people because I've seen people collecting for 2-3 years, and then there's no more satisfying than knowing that you raised those babies, you got them to breeding, and then now you're gonna see those babies produce. Those once babies, now they're adults. They're gonna start producing for you, and then you're gonna
Hmm.
start your cycle. And that's what it takes. It takes a lot, but if you're not passionate about it, it makes it that much harder.
Yeah.
It just does. But knowing that you're able to see yourself, grow and add to it, yeah, it's awesome.
Yep. You know what? Jenny and Armando mentioned sometime the last time we were talking about they're like their moment was not producing their first clutch of eggs from animals that they bought from somebody else, but producing the first clutch of eggs for animals that were hatched and raised at their place.
Yep.
There's like that. It's a different type of feeling and accomplishment there.
Oh yeah, yeah, man. Trust me, bro. When I did that for the first time, I was like, wow, that full circle.
Yeah.
The full circle with the Hognose, I was like, wow, this is great. I can't believe it. And you know how we are. We like the purple line. We like the saturated color and everything. So it's difficult to add animals when not everybody likes the saturated color. Not everybody believed in it. 3-4 years ago, it
Hmm.
slowly became more of a thing when people were consistently producing that look that everybody was after, but they weren't achieving it with their own stuff. So slowly they started adding in the stuff with more color, and then it started to add more color and add more color, and then they were like, "Whoa, okay, I could see where it's going now," and then they became more believers. But that's what it's like, proving to people, showing them, season over season over season, time and time again, that it's attainable. You just got to work with the recipe, and then you got to figure it out. Talk to people. That's one of the things that I like to tell people, man, is like, don't be afraid to ask a question. Ask any question. Ask a question, and it's going to lead to another question. There is no such thing as a dumb question. The only stupid or dumb question is a question you never asked. As
Very
dumb as
true.
it may seem to you, it's important.
Yep.
I have people that don't come to me because they're afraid to ask me a question, but then by the time that they ask me, how can I save this animal? It's already, too far gone.
Too far out.
If you would have asked me, a month ago, a month and a half ago, I would have been able to tell you what to do. But unfortunately, you waited so long that the animal is so far gone that there's nothing that we could do. And that's why there's no
True.
such thing as a dumb question. The dumb question is a question you never asked.
Yep.
And yeah,
Very
yeah,
true.
Victor too. See, Victor's another one that started to get eggs. Last year was the first time, and he's another one that he was like, "Man, I don't know what to do. How do I get into this? Like, how do I go about it? I didn't have reptiles before." I'm like, "Look, bro, I'm willing to help you, man. You just this is what you need to do now. Forget about what you're gonna need to do in a year from now. This is where you're at now. We're gonna get to the next one and the next one and the next one, and by you know within the next year, you're gonna be at the point where you're gonna be able to do this by yourself." And look, he's got it. And
Yep.
he's been doing it. Now he's on his second year too. Brumation was scary for him, and now he brumated his second time, no problem. And he's producing nice animals. And that's how it
Sure.
is. You gotta
Yeah.
find somebody who's willing to help you and teach you things, and you get to the point where you could do it on your own.
For sure. Yeah. So we're gonna close this out because we're getting almost right here to the 2.5 hour mark. And I have a question I asked all my guests at the end of the podcast is if you had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, the undivided attention, what would you say for those 5 minutes to the whole world?
I would
What
say
would you be your message?
be humble and pay it forward. Be humble and pay it forward. Be humble, pay it forward. That's the best thing that we could do.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just taking a step back sometimes to look and be appreciative of what you got and what you have been given in life, right?
Yeah.
Um, because there's definitely people that have it worse sometimes, and um,
I feel like it's a mindset. If you're humble, you understand. Not everybody who's coming at you with an attitude is a bad person. Some people are in
mhm,
a tough situation because they've had a bad day. If you're humble, you'll be able to understand and switch that instead of feed into it. If you feed into it, you make that person even more mad. Now that person's gonna turn around and make somebody else mad and upset, and then that person it's an ongoing, it's a trickle effect. If you're able to understand and be humble, you might be able to switch that person's mind. Now instead of changing one person's outcome or one person's life, you're gonna change whoever he could have affected or she could have affected. So being humble and paying it forward. That's it. Be humble. We've all had bad problems. We've all had issues. We've had everything. And there's been one person who's come into your life and who's coming to your day to day and be like, listen, relax. It's gonna be okay. You'll be all right. You'll be okay.
very true,
And
very
that's kind
true.
of like what it is.
Good message, man. Good message. So, I want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for all the help you've given us over here. And the friendship we've built over the year.
Yeah,
It's been very, very, very humbling. Very, um, a great experience through this whole thing. So I want to say thank you. I do want to tell people, Memorial Day weekend is coming up. Our podcast won't be until after. So I wanted to share something with you guys that's very personal to me with Memorial Day weekend. I know we all, Memorial Day weekend comes, it's like the beginning of summer, right? Let's go and barbecue, have fun with our family, stuff like that. And, go ahead and do that stuff like that. But also remember what it really is about. And it's, having the memory of those, keeping memory of those that have fought for this country and lost their lives, and not just at war, but when they get back home and stuff like that. Because I'm a veteran. I've been to combat and stuff like that, and I have friends that I've lost on Memorial Day weekend back here home because of what they've experienced in war and stuff like that. So whenever you're celebrating this weekend with your families and stuff like that, take the moment to think about it and educate other people on what is it about. I've told my daughters since they were younger on why we have the day off of school or the day off of work and stuff like that. So like that, I wanted to close this podcast with that because that's very close to my heart and a time that I always like to talk to people about why we have those days off.
definitely, man. Thank you for your service, and like I said, bro, thank you
My
very much
pleasure,
for
man.
everything too, bro. You've
For
helped me a
sure.
lot too. You've helped me a lot too, man. When I had so much to do and I didn't know where to start, you drove all the way from where you're at, 45 minutes just to come see me, man.
Yeah.
That goes
Very
both
true,
ways, bro.
man.
I
For sure. For
appreciate
sure.
you just as much as you appreciate me, and you're just as important to me as I am to you. So we're good, bro. Thank you very much. And this podcast, hopefully, it helped people. And again, if you guys are in a situation where you need some advice or you need some help, I'm here. I'm here. And if I can't
Yep.
help you, I'll try to help you and pointing you to the right person or to the people you need to speak to, man. But don't be afraid of taking risks. Don't be afraid of taking risks and keep pushing forward. Don't give up.
For sure. For sure. Good last words. Thank you everybody for spending time with us tonight. And there's been some of you that were here from the first second till the last moment. We're gonna close this out.
Yeah,
Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, go follow us on our social media. And like you said, if you guys have any questions, any concerns after that, reach out to us. My messages are open. Comment below and that stuff, and I try to get back to everybody as well. All right, good night, guys.
good night.